Check, check, 1, 2, 9 o'clock here in the Pacific Northwest, for those that are here in the Pacific Northwest. And gosh, it's been, let me make sure that everything's doing what I want it to do as I usually check with these streams. And yep, there it is. Awesome. How is everybody? It's been a minute. I haven't done a live stream in 2 weeks, and that was an interview. And then the Fun Table sessions took a 3-week break. And a lot of that had to do with my own personal schedule. It also had to do with Thanksgiving and the holidays. I wasn't really quite sure what kind of schedules other people were going to be able to keep. It is 2020, so things are a little bit different than any other year. But I'm really glad that we get to bring the Fun Table Sessions Round 17 Holiday Cheer Edition to you tonight, this Saturday. Captain Blackwood, our official Holiday Cheer Coordinator, is here, I see. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for being the Holiday Cheer Coordinator. It's going to be fun to incorporate you and your questions. Our guests are all here. They're all ready to go. And yeah, I have a couple interviews that I'm working on in terms of trying to get them scheduled for this coming week. Nothing is solidified yet. So if you happen to be looking at my social media, particularly on Instagram or Facebook, that's where I tend to post, what's coming up with the latest details. Sometimes, especially around this time of year, if people get sick or other things change, then, unfortunately, then sometimes the interviews have to change. That happened a couple times. And part of that was actually on my end on one of them. So just kind of know that we're still working on things. I kind of, had to disappear for a couple weeks there. But I'm back, and I'm looking forward to this. I have my beer here, and I have one there and there. And this was actually from my sister-in-law. This is the first beer that I had that transitioned me to hops, but I won't talk about that for too long. So hopefully everyone's doing all right out there. Gosh, let's see. So this is Saturday. So yeah, we're just 2 weeks away from Christmas, because that's on a Friday. And goodness, yeah, here we are in the squishy brain of the pandemic. Who knows, what day, what time it is. I was just talking with one of the guests that it was 3 weeks ago that I saw her via this type of thing. And it didn't seem like it had been 3 weeks. Felt like it had been more like maybe 2 or 3 months. Tonight needs to be about Irish coffee. Hey, whatever floats your boat. I have some Guinness here. We're talking about the Irish thing. But yeah, so I'm just really happy to be here. This has been an incredible year for me, just doing any of these virtual interviews and Fun Table sessions, which are not interviews, by the way. They're just hangout sessions. And it's this is number 99. I just mentioned that to my guests. So if I count all the virtual interviews and all the Fun Tables and put them all together, this is number 99. So we're going to be hitting triple digits sometime next week, at the very latest next Saturday, because I can tell you this now, round 18 of the Fun Table sessions is going to happen. I have 2 confirmed guests. I have a 3rd guest who's kind of looking at things, and I actually have a 4th guest who's looking at some things too to see if it's going to fit. So yeah, you know what? I've been in touch with Sasha, Captain Blackwood, and it's been hard getting their schedules together to finish up the interviews, including the one with the interview me. It would be great to have something where it's some kind of extra thing, being the number 100 live stream. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to make it work, but that is a great idea, great thought. Obviously, without them, I wouldn't be doing any of this stuff. So I owe a great debt of gratitude to Alice for inviting me to do their tour. And then it kind of sprungboarded me into all the stuff that I'm doing now. So, but hey, so this is going to be a little bit different for those that are watching at home. Typically, we just talk about all kinds of random things. And the early sessions of the Fun Table, I had a lot of questions, and that's kind of what we worked and riffed off of. And then as we kind of went along, they just kind of went by the wayside because we were just kind of all talking about different things we were interested in. And so tonight's a mix of both of those things. I'm sure there's going to be some rambling and talking about different things. But then we have our official cheer coordinator, which is Captain Blackwood. And he has some questions which none of us have seen, including myself. So he's going to be putting one in the chat. And when it seems like a good time to put that question on the screen for everybody to see, then we will do so. And we'll be taking a drink of our beverage and then answering the question if we so choose. And so I'm putting a lot of trust in Alex to do this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And so if you're watching at home, or if you are in the chat or what have you, and you want to do the same thing, so when you see the question come across your screen, your TV screen, laptop, whatever device you're using, then that's kind of, so it's kind of a pseudo drinking game without the goal of getting drunk. So it's just more about having a chance to drink. and kind of have some fun with it. So without further ado, let's get to it. So you can already see that I have the guests there, but they're blacked out because my audio with the wonderful iOS that Apple is still creating audio issues that supposedly will be fixed next week once 14.3 comes out. That's what the StreamYard people tell me. And so let's see here. Let's go with the person that is doing number 3 tonight, 4 overall, if we can count her interview back in August. And she is a wonderful photojournalist up in Abbotsford / Vancouver, British Columbia. And so without further ado, let's welcome in Char Tupper from Metal Titans to the fun table. Hey, Char.
Hi, Mark. How's it going?
I'm doing all right now. How are you?
Good. You know, just chilling in Abbotsford / Vancouver. Chilling in a big space right there.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for joining me again. It was fun having you here. And
thanks for having me. Like I say, it's actually my Friday this time, so I can drink too this time.
Awesome. Yeah, you get to represent all of Canada. No pressure.
No pressure. It's fine. It'll take me a lot of these to get anywhere. So.
Okay, let's bring in our second guest. This is her second fun table, also her third event, if you want to call it that. We include her interview as well from the third leg of the Alice tour, and she was actually a part of the last fun table that I did 3 weeks ago, number 16. So from the Olympic Ballet Theatre, let's welcome in Rowan Catel. Hello.
Hi, how are you guys?
Doing good. How are you?
Good.
Good.
You know what? This is so ridiculous. I just noticed now your tree.
Oh, it's a little guy, so it's okay.
Oh, that's cool.
Do you see his tiny Santa hat?
Yeah,
I see that. That's adorable.
I didn't have a star, and I had like a hair clip Santa hat, and I was like, this has to happen.
It still does the job.
Yeah, I decided to be festive, and this is the festive corner of my apartment. It is my bar cart with presents, the only 2 things you could ever want in life. So
True. Very true.
Nice.
The fun corner.
The fun corner for the fun table.
I was just going to say.
It all works for me. Okay, and our third guest, who is new to the fun table session concept, he is a part of a wonderful duo here called March to May. Their CD is literally actually in my CD player right now. I've been listening to it basically since I bought it from the band, and so they are awesome, and they are part of the Alice tour, also the third leg. Now that I think about it, chapter 3. So let's welcome in Darren from March to May.
How's it going, Mark?
Good.
How's it going?
How are you, Darren?
Doing well.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for being here. And yeah, and I'm not kidding. That CD has not left my player once I got it. So
I love it. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, it's that good. So anyone out there, Christmas gift or something? I don't know if there's time, but
there's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks. You still have time. There's also time online, so
Right, digital download. Good to go.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
No excuse.
Now, before we get to just talking and rambling about things, what are people drinking tonight? I'm just curious. Anybody?
Nobody says
glass of red wine, my classic go-to.
All right, glass of red wine.
I've got Ravens Brewing Co. Funny enough that it's actually a local Abbotsford brewery, but it's actually my first time trying them. Very good. Very good.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of beer is that? What style?
It is a IPA. It's a strong beer. It's like a stout kind of thing. They call it a Galaxy Head. Dragon Head is the actual. I don't know if this helps at all. There we go. Let's rotate that guy. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. The real reason I picked it was very Nordic.
I love it.
I kind of fell victim to I love the package. I'm going to go for it.
Why Nordic, Char?
I've been to Norway, so I fell in love with it when I went. So it's just kind of coursing through my veins all the time.
My favorite part of it is that it just says strong beer at the bottom.
Yeah, that's what I like.
It makes me happy.
It just says strong beer. Sure, whatever strong beer really is.
Well,
Can you
Well,
really
we'll see.
define it? Yeah.
we'll see you 2 hours from now, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I have 3 more in the fridge, so we'll see.
nice. And then let's see, Rowan. I'm getting better at pointing to the right squares now.
It's a beer and it's brown. Actually, let me grab the bottle because it's pretty impressive.
Okay. I like impressive bottles.
Right? Back to the whole, it's impressive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is my torso. This is the beer.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm a pretty small person, but like,
turn the label, Rowan.
That's pretty impressive.
Oh, that's Anchor's Christmas Ale, one of my favorite Christmas beers.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is that a 22 ouncer?
That looks like a Magnum. Is that a?
it's pretty, let's see, 1 quart, 1 pint, 2.7 fluid ounce. Oh, 50.7 fluid ounces.
Yeah, it's a Magnum.
Holy cow.
Wow.
I bought it at Costco where everything's huge, so I didn't quite realize
Right.
that it was huge. And then I couldn't fit it in my fridge. So,
Aw. It has its own little like cooler on the side. Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
There's
it's cold.
something.
We got it to fit,
Yeah.
but it was a lot of rearranging. I'm going to put it back so it stays cold.
Nice.
Hopefully that'll last her tonight.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's only 50 ounces. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Like, nah.
I opened it last night, so.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
oh, there's a there's a little Santa cap on the on the skull.
So cute.
Nice. What is this? 9.7%. Okay. Oh, there we go. Let's see. That's okay. Let me polish my Baileys off tomorrow. Hey, Tony. Nice to see you. Hopefully things are good over on the East Coast. I don't know if it's snowing over there or not where you're located, but very well could be. And hey, Captain Blackwood, we're ready for some holiday cheer from you. So go ahead and throw one into the chat, and I will put it up on the screen for everybody at home to see.
Is the question what's up, Tony? I don't know how to answer that. My name's not Tony.
Can I put that on the screen?
Yeah, put that on.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, here we go. Here we
Oh,
go.
no, sorry.
Not till Wednesday. Oh,
There
okay.
it is.
Hmm. That's a good question.
Captain Blackwood. Good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
Anyone go with that?
I can jump in on that. I actually prefer traditional typically. I grew up with like the Mormon Tabernacle Choir playing in the background of my house, and like the kind of more traditional and oftentimes classical Christmas music. That said, there are a few artists out there that I really love that are more contemporary and modern. So, but I'll usually go back to the old stuff.
Okay.
I would agree with Darren too, that I always traditionally kind of go that I go towards the traditional side of things. It's just more classic, more kind of whatever it is about it. I find when I hear traditional music for Christmas, I just flash back to old Christmas memories and things like that. The more modern doesn't really do the same for me, but there is the occasional one that I know I can hear and I go, okay, that's not bad for a modern Christmas song. So, but
Totally agree.
Yeah. I feel like we're all kind of mirroring each other. I am a young person in love with the past. So I'm also a classical ballet dancer. So I think there's just like something about classical music that draws on my heartstrings, but I really love like Bing Crosby Christmas. You can't go wrong with that. However, I will say my all-time favorite Christmas song ever is Christmas Wrapping by the Waitresses, which is obnoxious and 80s, and there's sax solos, and it's great, and I love it, and I will love it till I die. It's so good. It's so much, but I love it.
You'll have to share that, Rowan.
Right?
Or can you sing some of it for us?
I'd be like, I need a few more of these before I start singing, but
Yeah,
Like I
we'll
had
wrap
dairy
back up to
today,
that.
and I don't normally eat dairy, and so my voice sounds funny as it is. Let me see if I can find it though. It's so good. I feel like you've probably heard it. and you'll probably hate it, but it's great. It's like an 80s Christmas parade in a song.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Intrigued my interest. Now I'm like,
Yeah,
what's the
yeah.
parade
I don't
sound
know,
like as a song? Yeah.
Yeah.
But like 20s through the 60s and then like the 80s are like my ideal eras.
Nice.
And of course, I was born long after all of that. But, you know.
How about you, Mark?
Yeah, I was gonna say while Rowan's finding that, yeah, I'm kind of the same thing. That I love like rural lives, and I like all the things that I grew up with. But the only thing that would be considered, I guess, kind of, I don't know if it's new. It's somewhere in the middle. Would be Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
I've gone to their shows for like I don't know, since 2003. Every year I've gone until obviously this year they're doing a live stream instead. But that's become like our holiday tradition is going to see TSO and just enjoying the show and the light show and everything else that they do with my mom. So that's probably the newest thing, Christmas-wise. But then again, I don't go searching out. Like I don't use Spotify like almost everybody else does. I'm kind of old school, so I don't really know what's new out there Christmas-wise for songs. Yeah. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I don't use Spotify either, so I'm so old school. I'm like, if I come across it on YouTube, maybe, or if it's like on a TV commercial, like I'm like, sure.
So is Pandora considered old school or no?
No.
Okay. Well, I use Pandora a lot. So that's
so close. Yeah, so close.
I used to use one called 8-Track, which doesn't exist anymore, and then there was one called Groove Shark too, where you could kind of like make your own business. But I'm gonna try and play with Drew like better than playing it on my phone. Also, because I just got a new phone and I don't know how to.
That's the worst, transitioning to the new phone. You're like, I don't know. It's like a good week before you get comfortable with it.
Mine was just about to get obsolete, but there was nothing wrong with it, and so I was holding on to it. I just got a new one, and it's pretty, but I don't know how to use it.
I like that. It's pretty. Yeah.
It's pretty.
That's pretty. That's what matters. It's pretty.
Yeah, that's the most important.
Does it work? But it's pretty. It's all good.
All right.
Okay.
I found it. I'm going to play it for you guys, and hopefully it'll come through. If not, I can play it on my phone.
Nothing.
Nope.
I hear static. Yeah. The most modern Christmas song of all time. Static. Actually, that would be kind of 80s, I guess.
Did it not work? I'll play it on my phone then.
Nope, didn't work.
Okay.
No, sorry.
Technology is not my strong suit.
And let's see. Captain Bloodwood, a mix of traditional and modern. Oak Ridge boards. Okay.
Oh,
interesting.
Huh. All right. Are you guys ready for this?
Okay.
All right, let's do it.
I'm in. Oh, yeah.
It's so good. This is like, what's it called? And then there's that solo floor. I can't fast forward it because I'm on
I've not heard this before.
Really?
Nope.
I can hear it, but it's staticky. It's a little.
I have worked customer service for 8 years. And this was one of the songs that would come on our holiday CD, and I was mad overtime, and it was the only song that kept me alive. I feel like especially retail has the worst Christmas soundtrack. Like, it's not the best
100%.
Christmas, it's the worst Christmas.
It's like they take 5 songs and they repeat those 5 songs. And when you have like 8-hour shifts, you're like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. And you feel like it's every
losing it. Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was working like 14-hour shifts, and then I would work for like 2 to 3 weeks in a row without like a day off. Like,
oh wow.
The overtime, but yeah, slowly going crazy.
I was gonna say the Christmas music really makes you go crazy. Well, and working 2 to 3 weeks without a day off, that also may make you go a little crazy.
Yeah.
I am not good at free time. Don't know how to do it.
It's true. The pandemic really brought out everybody's ability to handle free time, I guess, eh?
Yeah.
That was like the funniest thing, is like being overwhelmed with having free time. I was like, I've never, like I had 4 jobs prior, and then I got laid off from all of them. And so it was like, I don't know what to do, because I left high school and went into like community college and work and performing, and then left that to another college and was working. And then after I left school, I was working and performing. And so it's like, free time it exists, I guess.
It's true. It's hard to handle doing nothing. It feels weird. Like I work full time, so for me, it's not a big. I never got laid off or anything, but yeah, it's crazy. I couldn't imagine having all this free time and just like sitting there twiddling my thumbs around, going, "Okay, what do I do today? I've cleaned my house like 6 times this week."
Yeah, I always joke. I feel like a dog. Like when Carlos, my boyfriend, will come home, I'll be like, "Do you want to go outside? Like, do you want to go on a walk?" Like, I'm so excited to go outside.
Like
Take
it's
me
pouring
out.
rain outside.
I don't know.
I
It's
could
funny. I've actually like really enjoyed the free time component, because like I have a full-time job and playing in the band March to May, and I was running a production company, and I was just like, actually like November, December, I was like, I need to take a few months off and just do nothing. And then the pandemic hit, and I was like, this is amazing. So it was actually yeah, exactly. Like I was like so thankful. And a friend of mine who's a videographer, actually, he shot 4 of our 5 music videos. He was like, we're talking about this, and he was thinking the same thing. He's like, I'm so burnt out, I just need a break. And the pandemic hit, and we're like, wow, all right. This is actually kind of a good thing.
I can relate to that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I was telling some people that this time last year, I'd covered so many holiday shows that by the end of December of 2019, I was thinking about taking the rest of the winter off from media stuff. And then the pandemic hit, so I'm like, careful what you wish for.
Way to go, Mark.
Yeah.
You cursed us all.
It's my fault.
It's just one person's fault for the whole world. Like, damn.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously I miss it so much, but yeah, at the time I was like, man, I think I went overboard. I better just kind of chill out during the winter and get back into it back in March. And then it was like, where are the shows? Where's
now it's like, oh no.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Hi, Bessie. Good to see you over in Greece, or good morning to you, I should say, over in Greece. Nice to see you again. That you're joining us. And yeah, thanks for being here. That I'm back for now, doing live streams again. So always great to have you there, fellow artist over in the country of Greece. So, but yeah, and Darren, I was going to ask you too, because I know you've got a schedule today since you're not in Seattle. That your video that you guys did with the color and playing around with all the throwing the stuff at each other, where did that idea come from?
Good question. I wish Beth was here to answer that part of it. She's so much more eloquent and concise than I am in terms of speaking about our songs, even though we co-write everything together. But the song itself is called Persephone. And so it really came from the Greek myth of Persephone and kind of her relationship with Hades. And that's, roughly translated into the lyrics of our song. But with that too, and as Beth can probably describe, better than I can, it was actually a really healthy relationship, I guess, in terms of the typical relationships in Greek mythology. And, even though that kind of Hades abducted Persephone to go into the underworld, it actually wound up being kind of a good thing in a lot of ways. And it is, from my understanding, Persephone had a lot of agency in her own kind of, choice to go there or not to go there. And the music video itself, being the most abstract of any of our videos, kind of came out of this idea of 2 people, so maybe, symbolically Persephone's and Hades, but 2 people who, basically kind of put on this public persona and this face to everyone around them. And that's like, with it. So when we're in black, right, that's kind of where that component is. And then, when it goes into the white scenes and when we start kind of exploring that kind of more playful, intriguing kind of curiosity component, that's where, like, it's almost like symbolic of two people getting to know each other. And over time, as the video evolves and the paint starts flying and, like, there's more laughter and kind of playfulness, that's kind of like that face that you only show to certain people, right? And so it's that kind of more personal, connected understanding of one another that happens after you spend a bit of time with someone, really get to know somebody. And the black, like I said, when it goes back to those black shots, it's like, like that public facing persona, which is very kind of, as we portrayed in the video, very kind of non-expressive and somewhat bland. And so that's kind of the concept of the video, really. So it's kind of show those two sides of ourselves. And how much, getting to know somebody else and that kind of interconnection and connectivity between two people can really be so much more than anyone else ever sees in public. And so, I guess that, you can kind of relate that back to the song in Persephone and Hades, but really it's kind of an expression of, that kind of, I don't know, intimate connection between two people in, in some kind of relationship. And it doesn't have to be an intimate partnership. It can be friendship. It can be family, it can be, colleagues, but, it's that public and kind of private face to face that we show.
Wow.
That makes sense? Okay.
No, absolutely. What I love about what you described and what I know Beth has described via email for Hylas is that there's so much thought put into what you guys do. And if you really take the time to do it, and obviously I didn't spend enough time because I asked the question, but I think it's awesome. There's so many layers to it, and it's not just like something on the surface by any means. There's so much more to it.
Absolutely so. And hopefully that's conveyed in the video. And that's one of those things that, we like to try to, both with the music we write and the videos we shoot, we like to have some sort of interpretation that whoever's watching it or listening to it can kind of connect it to their own story. So we don't want to be so, kind of precise and clear cut. It's like, this is what this new song is about. But more so if someone listens to it or watches that video, they can kind of come up with their own, meaning to it and their own connection to it.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. And hi, Industrial Girl. Good to see you down in East LA. Hopefully things are good down there. So yeah, no, that's awesome. I think when you're talking about, the front facing thing that we put out to the public and then what we have with people, if it's friends, family, your partner, behind the scenes, it can be so different. And even like this whole thing, the virtual thing this year of like, some people weren't, I wasn't used to this. I mean, I had used Zoom before the pandemic, but not a lot. And now, like I've mentioned before on some of these things, you've got 5-year-old kids using this for school, every day. And there's all these other kind of things that are happening because of this. And do you put yourself out there the way you would be like if you saw me in person, or do you kind of put on a certain kind of like social media presence of how you are? Everyone does different things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's, I think, the power of, being able to convey art form, whether it's in painting or dance or, I think you're a photojournalist, Char, right? So like, being able to kind of, being able to kind of give people a chance to express that, I guess, in a sense, or feel a connection to what you're expressing so they can have a better sense of themselves and kind of what they're actually trying to understand about their own lives. So
yeah, very true.
Wow.
Deep thoughts, right?
I'm just saying that shopping at Walmart was surprisingly peaceful today. Some people are doing donuts at the end of my block. Oh boy,
it's extreme.
And then Rowan, you were saying earlier that you're really excited because you're going back into the studio because there'll be some sort of stream or show or something in February with Olympic Ballet Theatre. So that's got to be really cool.
Yeah, it's so nice. This is the longest break I've ever taken from dance. Generally, I would say like the biggest gap I've taken from dance would be about like 6 months. Generally from like therapy, I hurt myself then. But beside the point, I think in a sense taking the time off is good because it's kind of realizing what the passion I have for dance, and I am more excited than ever to go and start this new project. But at the same time, I'm actually just happy to be asked back. I'm like, it's been We left in April. Like something's happening. I feel like a big piece of me is missing. Like I've been dancing since I was 5 years old, so as far back as I can remember, I've been dancing. And as much fun as dancing in our tiny one second floor apartment is, it'll be nice to be able to like take up space and have that kind of athleticism again. Kind of try and figure out who I am as a dancer again. I feel like this is a great chance to find a new voice, try to connect with people, especially because it's going to be recorded. You can see the audience reaction in real time. So I think in a sense it'll be a lot more intimate for us. We'll be mostly feeding off of each other. But the pressure will also be, not necessarily pressure, but the pressure will be that much higher to be able to convey those feelings through a lens, which is not something I'm very familiar with, and so I'm curious to see how it will go. I'm used to, like, my arms are talking, not necessarily my face is something that I need to know about in general, but, you know. So it'll be an interesting process. I'm excited to do something that I've yearned for and also something very new. So we'll see. I'm excited. It's going to be, I think, more contemporary work too, which will be easier on our body to jump straight into ballet. After months off, modern generally is a little bit more arduous. Your body tends to like it a little bit better than ballet. So I'm excited that it'll be a challenge and back into it.
Okay, no, that makes sense. You bring up a good point too, that all the dancers are going to bring this whole pandemic experience to this new collaboration, and that's going to be a whole new experience for everybody. Just like if I get back even in a photo pit with Char, down the road, and other photographers that we know, it's not going to be the same because we've all been through so much. And then we're doing the same thing, but it's not our experience anymore. It's going to be something there. It's kind of exciting, actually, in some ways, to see what comes out of that.
Yeah, and there will definitely still all be social distance too. Like I think we're only going to have 2 people in the studio at a time. And for myself, I live with another dancer, and so we'll get to hopefully work together, which will be nice because our heights don't quite work out. So it's exciting. So like dance with someone I really have an extra connection to, and I think that might convey on a screen, which would be nice. But see, I'm excited. I don't really know what the pieces are about yet. Our rehearsal starts on Monday. So.
Okay. And I'm just curious, what's on your shirt? Because it's a dingle or something.
Oh, yes. My mom is 3rd generation Irish, and so I went to Ireland when I was 19 for the first time. And my favorite way to travel is to just not plan, just go, take 10, like a week or so, and try and explore as much as I can. And I like to stay there. And so Dingle was one of the places that kind of captured my heart. I love it. It's so cute. This little port city, and they have a dolphin in their bay called Fungi, and he's a little pink dolphin.
Oh, that's cute.
This cat that was following me around, and there were so many good pubs with like great music and all these old archaeological sites too. And I grew up in like a port town as well, like home away from home.
Yeah.
It's adorable. I highly recommend it. Plus, it has a silly name, so I was like, of course I want that on the
Right.
You can't take yourself too seriously.
Right.
I'll be honest. I thought I was going to say Dingle and then Barry on the bottom.
I've wanted to work a couple times, and I used to work in a coffee shop, and so one of my favorite customers would come up and be like, "Morning, Dingleberry."
They
Get your tea ready.
Oh, nice.
That's funny.
He's a great person, though. I love people like that. Like, please have, what's it called? Not like mean humor, but when there's that level of trust that you can be like
brutally honest.
Yeah.
Not brutally honest, but like honest to an extent. Yeah. Yeah. I have that with people at my work too. Yeah. That you see them all the time, that you can just be like, "Hey, you idiot," or like you can say something kind of cruelly funny like that, and they just go, oh, you idiot too. We're two idiots. Or like you can just say funny things like that. And then there's some customers that are just like so like snooty that you're like, oh, so sorry.
Good morning. How can I help you? The customer service face and smile.
Right? Even the way you said good morning, they're like, how dare you say good morning to me with that tone? And you're just like, oh, sorry. Like, sorry, please go away.
Well, that was even like for me, just doing these virtual interviews. You know, I have to read people, and some people I could probably maybe be a little bit more gross with my humor if I want to, and some people I know don't go there. I mean, they just don't come across that way. That's not the energy they're putting out. So then I don't go there. But then, yeah, if I'm around people that know me well, know that my humor can get pretty freaking gross at times, and that I don't have a filter at times too, including in some of the interviews that are on YouTube right now. If you watch some of those. Yeah,
I'm all about cat videos, so I don't know. I'm biased because I have a cat, but at the same time, I look at my cat and then I watch cat videos and I go, oh, my cat's not sweet like that at all.
My cat might make an appearance later, but she's sleeping right now.
Mine's locked out right now, so he won't be here. He'll hiss at me if he comes on, so it's not, no.
And I think I heard that there's going to be a third Gremlins movie. When I was thinking about Gizmo, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's Rowan's
My cat's name is Gizmo, yeah.
I was going to say, I'm like, my cat's name's Smokey, so I don't really know.
I have no idea what you're talking
Yeah, like, what? I missed
do you have a pet? Are you a cat person or a dog person? It's okay to be both, or neither.
I grew up with dogs, but I honestly almost like cats better because they're lower maintenance. They kind of like they do their own thing. Like dogs can be like really super needy. So that said, I do love corgis. In fact, I even wanted to. I love corgis. Yeah, I never had a corgi. I grew up with like huskies and shepherds, but I actually wanted to. I've been kind of joking around for years. You know, because in Seattle there's like the cat cafes that have opened up. They're popular like in Japan as well, but I was kind of joking around with friends the last few years about opening up a corgi cafe because I thought that'd be, you know, kind of a fun thing. And then, believe it or not, of course, all my friends now know that I love corgis. And so my sister sent me something literally like 3 days ago about a corgi cafe that opened up, I think, in Bangkok, just recently.
Oh, they took your idea.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, like in Seattle, my favorite thing is walking by like City Dog or like, you know, all those dog places that people who work in offices leave their dogs during the day, and there's the big windows, and I just like walk by.
It's like watching. Yeah, totally.
Face pressed to the glass, like, oh my god, they're all the pets. Yeah,
exactly. So
like, this isn't creepy, I promise.
Just going around Seattle.
And then you go into the room and you get all these corgis come and jump and play with you, and like, I mean, that sounds.
Have you seen like the videos of like the corgi play dates and stuff they have?
I've seen a lot of corgi videos, more than I've ever known about. People send me them.
Now that you've unveiled that you like corgis, you're gonna find all kinds of things on the internet about corgis.
It's like exponential growth. Yeah. It's happening.
Like, my mind is like. I like corgis now. It's like my mind is blown by corgis.
Exactly. In fact, there's even corgi races down in Auburn. They use Emerald Downs, the horse racing track, and they've been going for 3 or 4 years now. And in between the horse races, they have corgi races, and it's like tripled in size. It's amazing. You have to go sometime.
When COVID's over and I can cross the border.
Exactly.
It's like my first event. Corgi races.
I feel the same way. I'm like trying to go up to Canada. My boyfriend is from San Francisco and has never been to Canada, and I grew up here. And so, you know, it's like not very far.
Yeah.
So we're trying to go, but
I mean, I feel like all Canadians are like super, super nice. And I don't know, I grew up in Maine originally. So like Canada's, you know, obviously like I'm surrounded by Canada growing up as well. And I don't know, I love Canada. I think it's awesome place.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm biased. You're probably biased too, Char.
I'm slightly biased that I live here. So.
I would move there if I could. I love Vancouver as well. Vancouver's such a cool city. Yeah.
It's very nice. Like in BC in general, like our province is very diverse compared to a lot of like the middle provinces, for example. So like Alberta's like diverse, like right at the border of BC, and then the rest of it's kind of like flat. So it's kind of boring.
Well, it's like,
there's
like
always Yeah. There's always like like a weird feud between Alberta and BC. It's always been there. Yeah. Ask anybody from the two provinces and they'll be like, oh, Alberta, and then BC. It's just like a weird vengeance we all have.
But we all know
like
that
secret thing. Yeah.
But BC is definitely better. We know that.
Totally.
I
BC's
feel like
Washington.
Washington, like
We're pretty
Eastern
much
Washington and Western Washington are similar. Like we're very different people. Eastern
Yeah.
and West.
Yeah.
Also, thank you, Industrial Girl. I am pretty partial to my Christmas tree as well. I had actually one of the little Charlie Brown ones for a while, but because there's only like the one wire, it broke.
Like
it got well loved and it broke.
You know what's funny about that is I'm sure. So my mom watches all of these streams either live or at some point. She's probably watching this right now. Is that I have one of those Charlie Brown Christmas trees, and she always. So did you put your tree up? Did you put your tree up? And sometimes I get lazy and I don't put it up for that year. So right now it's not up. So the fact, but
it's gonna find that emoji and flip you off. I'm just saying, just gonna find that emoji.
or Mark's phone. The phone is gonna ring. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's your mom.
Yep.
You need to have your tree up.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Hey, Captain Blackwood, I think it's time for question number 2. Yeah, there's my mom. I'm here. She just put it in the chat.
It's a smiley. It's pretty nice.
Where's the tree?
Hi, Mom.
I will answer the question that yes, Canada can adopt California. I love California. I've been there myself. It's a pretty awesome state. I like it too. We'll adopt the West Coast all together if you want.
Thank you.
That way everybody joins. Yeah.
Just take it off.
All right. Thanks, Captain Blackwood. When comes Christmas, do you go for the ham or something else? Oh.
It's always turkey dinner for me. So, because our Thanksgiving, I like Mark, you probably remember from our previous table session that in Canada, Thanksgiving is October. So we've been a little while without turkey. So we want more turkey. So.
Boxing Day, right?
Bashar, I must point out something different though. So one Thanksgiving, Canadian Thanksgiving, I actually went to New Brunswick and I went onto this island called Grand Manan, which is off the coast of Maine. It's part of New Brunswick. And we were there for Thanksgiving. It wasn't really intentional, but we were. And they're like, oh, come to our Thanksgiving dinner. We're like, oh, this sounds wonderful. They were staying in this big inn. And we go there and there are literally piles of lobsters. Like, it was amazing. And my first lobster Thanksgiving, it was incredible.
I was gonna say that would have probably been incredible from back east. That totally makes sense for them.
This is amazing.
Alberta, I can see being like steak because they grow they deal with beef, so I can see them all having steak. I would actually jump to Alberta for that one. I like steak more than turkey, so. But I would definitely be all about turkey dinner myself because I don't have it enough personally, so I have it twice a year, Thanksgiving and Christmas. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we have turkey there, and then Darren mentioned the lobster thing. But what do you normally do?
We grew up in Maine, typically having, even though Maine's a big lobster state as well, we typically had turkey and sometimes some other bird of choice. My dad liked to try different birds, so we would have turkey and a goose, or turkey and a hen, or turkey and a whatever birds are out there. Take a turkey and a pigeon. No, we didn't have a pigeon, but there are other types.
I was gonna say, ooh, a pigeon.
No, that does not sound good. And now I don't cook a lot in general, but somehow I've found my way into other people's lives who cook amazingly well, such as my music partner Beth. She's an amazing cook. I feel very lucky about that, and so now it's typically back into the turkey thing. This year I'm going to do some kind of Kahlua pork or some kind of something different like that. So it's kind of ham based, I guess.
Again, if I could cross the border, I'd be so in. I'd be like, woohoo! I want to try this Kamali pork here.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
I've never done it before, so we'll see how it turns out. But
yeah, someone test it first before I make the drive.
Exactly.
In case it's like a bust. I doubt it will be. I'm sure it'll be amazing.
And Rowan?
Everyone's going to be disappointed in me. My family normally, I have a very small family in the state. It's just my immediate family, but I have 4 siblings. So I have a fairly large, small family. They usually make ham but the smell of ham makes me nauseous, and I hate it. I think ham is the worst meat to ever grace the earth. I hate it. I think it's disgusting. I never eat it. When my dad cooks it, I leave the house for a couple hours, and luckily, Carlos is okay with the smell. He's disappointed, but he's okay with it. So I normally eat all the side dishes. I love vegetables. I fill up on vegetables and then I ruin it by eating a lot.
It's funny though that you say, Rowan, that you like the sides. I'm the same way when it comes to turkey dinner. Even like turkey's there, but I prefer the stuffing, the veggies, the yam, the potato. Like I prefer all that stuff before I even get to the turkey side of it. So
I will kill myself on mashed potatoes and die happy.
Totally. There has to be garlic in there though. For me, I like potatoes with a touch of garlic, but
and then
when
yams.
I make them, yes, but my family no.
Yeah.
Gotta be yams with a marshmallow on top. Is that? Oh, okay.
Yeah. See,
my dad loves it. I hate it.
And we don't do that up here, so it's the most.
Okay.
It sounds really bizarre to me. Like I hear people, they're like, "Oh yeah, it's all about the marshmallows." I'm like, for what?
That's how I feel. I'm like, if I'm eating,
what's going on?
Like if I eat a vegetable and it's sweet, it shouldn't be additionally sweet. Like the only way I'll eat sweet potatoes is if they have like curry or something on it. Like it needs to be made savory for me to eat something that's sweet. Like glazed carrots, I think are awful.
Yeah,
that's
No,
true.
So, yeah, I'm not big on the marshmallow yam thing. I'm like, yeah.
I've only discovered, like, I only really heard about it like a couple years ago, and I was just like, why is there potato, like, why is there marshmallows on a yam?
I'm sure it's like a product of like
I
the
just throw
50s
butter
or
on mine.
60s, you know? Like when they were putting vegetables in Jell-O, I'm sure they were like,
Ooh, that's
put
weird.
marshmallows on.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure that's where it came from.
Yeah, I have no
Like,
idea.
foods, let's combine everything.
That's a good question, actually. Yeah, where does that originate, the marshmallow and yam? I mean, it's so like in the East Coast. I don't know if you guys. So Rowan and Char, you guys and Mark, you guys grew up in the West Coast. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, so in the East Coast, one thing that I grew up with, like, was a childhood thing, was fluff. Do you guys know about fluff?
No.
Marshmallow fluff?
Exactly.
Like peanut butter,
like
marshmallow fluff sandwiches?
Oh yeah, but you don't.
Okay.
It doesn't say marshmallow fluff. It just says fluff. So.
Oh, okay. I was gonna
But
say
like,
there used to be like a jet puff marshmallow
Yeah.
puff. I do remember that. Yeah.
There's like off brands that contain like a bunch of ingredients. Fluff has like 4 ingredients. I don't know, super simple. And I'm not saying it's healthy. I'm not advocating for eating fluff regularly, but like it's you mix it with peanut butter and you spread it on your bread, and it's a fluffernutter, right? So instead of marshmallows on the yams, you can actually put fluff on top of the yams.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not like a big fan of marshmallow, but my like elementary school best friend would bring in like peanut butter and marshmallow fluff sandwiches. And I've never had white bread, and I've never had marshmallow fluff because I grew up with mom was like ultra healthy. And I was like, I don't know what this sorcery is, but this is the best thing I've eaten in my entire life.
Oh, man. Well,
it's so good. But when I make fudge, I use marshmallow fluff.
Oh, you do? Okay, cool. Okay, so you've had it at least. That's good. Because my sister actually often sends me like a bottle or like or plastic tub. They have different sizes. They have the glass jars like this, plastic tub like this, and then the Costco size, like this.
Back to Costco sizing. That's outrageous. Like, oh, no big deal.
You want some fluff? You know what? I mean, it'll last forever, so you're good there.
True.
But yeah, she'll send me fluff, at different times, sometimes at Christmas. So I appreciate it.
I think I've had it once in my life, and I was really, really young, and I honestly don't remember how or when I had it. I just know.
But you were so impressed by it, right?
Maybe. I never had it yet.
You're gonna make Darren cry. Say yes.
Come on.
Yes. Sorry. I live and breathe fluff.
Thank you. Better.
That's interesting. I had no idea what a fluffernutter was. But now I know, because it came up in an old sitcom when he said, I had a fluffernutter sandwich. I'm like, what the hell is that?
I've never heard of the name of the sandwich. That was the new one to me too today. So I'm like, what? There's a sandwich?
Now I know. It's my childhood.
It's like, how much sugar can you put between like non-nutritious bread? Like it's like Wonder Bread and marshmallow fluff, and then like just not even good peanut butter. Like
it's not even
healthy.
Like
the Peter Pan one that like nobody actually buys, but somehow it's in the cover. It's like,
Yep.
There's no nutritional value, but it's good.
And it was always
But it's like a
cupboard.
once a year kind of thing.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
It's funny because my girlfriend had never had it, and my sisters had some meat fluff, and we were driving back from some weekend. We're down at Columbia Gorge, and on the way back we needed lunch, and so we made fluffernutters, and she never had one before. And after a few bites, she was just like, "This is too much," and I can't remember if she threw it out the window or something, but like it was just like,
Oh, no.
it was, and she loved sugar, like she like loved sugar. Like I was amazed. Yeah. Yeah.
I can just see Derek going, not the sandwich. Not the
I'll take
sandwich.
it.
My childhood. How dare you throw my childhood at
I
the
know. It was
window?
the first time she had it. Like I was sharing my love for fluffernutters with her.
And then she throws it out the window. It's kind of insensitive.
I know. That's okay. That was a couple years ago. We're doing great.
We're on the brink, but one more incident and we're out. We're done.
But if she has fluff this next time, good to go.
Yeah, exactly. She's secretly been eating those sandwiches the entire time. She's like, I actually love these.
Or she's practicing, right? She's practicing
she's prepping, yeah.
to the sweetness. Yeah.
She's like, I'm down to one strike. I better start liking these sandwiches.
So, Mark,
Yeah.
are you a ham person?
Yeah.
Or just a ham.
Both. Yeah, it's funny. So on Saturdays, some people know this, that my immediate family tends to do like house party or some kind of virtual thing just to kind of connect with each other. And so we were talking about what are we going to do on Christmas this year. Partially because my work schedule is going to be all flipped around if I stay with the job that I'm at, because I'd be working nights and I have to work Christmas Eve and Christmas night. So it's like, well, do we do the food on Christmas like we normally do? Do we do it the next day, which I would be off on the 26th? And typically my mom does ham. She has done turkey though when she's feeling inspired. she'll do that. And
Feel motivated.
Christmas duck.
I'm not very picky, so I mean I'll eat the ham and the potato dish and the yams, and I've had yams with the marshmallows, which I also liked. So I like both. And any kind of pie. My brother was talking about making pecan pie and pumpkin pie this year. So I eat. You can kind of tell I kind of eat everything by looking at me. So yeah, I don't have any aversion to ham or anything else. I'm just kind of happy to have a meal, I guess.
During the pandemic, I'm just happy to have a meal.
Yeah. The meal I always have beer on me here, so I'm pretty much set. So
That's your food of choice.
yeah, barley and hops. Yeah.
Yeah. It's got nutritional
Yeah,
value,
like-
I'm sure. Yeah.
I don't know what it is about ham, but like I like other preparations of pork, but
Yeah. Yeah,
ham and I
ham's
don't
great.
agree.
I'm not a big ham fan either. Yeah.
See, and it's funny because I like ham, bacon, but I'm not a big fan of like pork chops. That's
Yeah,
why
I don't-
find I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
I
bacon.
like my pork flavorful, like bacon, hot dogs, pulled pork.
Yeah.
Yeah,
pork.
pulled pork's delicious. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
And-
don't. I don't eat red meat very often. But
Wait, is bacon considered red meat?
Well,
It's
it
not
kind of
really
looks
yeah, turkey
reddish.
bacon,
It kind of looks
I
reddish.
guess it's white and like other colors.
brown
White.
meat.
Color coding, yeah.
It's not true. Like it's not like steak, right?
It's not quite like steak, no.
It's healthy, right?
It's totally healthy. It should be like in every meal of the day.
No, I don't know why it's so good. I don't know what they do to it. It's amazing.
Right? Yeah. Although it's funny because like there's turkey bacon. It's not the same.
I like turkey bacon.
Oh, no?
I was just gonna say, like, that's not the same.
I don't.
We're the same.
I don't like fatty meat, and so if I eat bacon, I like it so like the whole thing is crispy. I don't like when it's like floppy or chewy, and so I think that's like the one draw for me with turkey bacon is that it's like always cooked all the way through because turkey is generally pretty lean. But Ireland has real good bacon. If you ever go to Ireland to get bacon,
Ah.
right? It looks
it crisp?
more like slices of ham, but it tastes like bacon.
Okay.
Like a carved ham, like it's got the grain in there and everything, but it's like
Yeah.
kind of vaguely bacon shaped and it tastes like bacon.
Vaguely shaped.
So good.
I guess the big question though is it crispy? That's what I wonder about, because like Canadian bacon, unfortunately, is not crispy.
No.
It's like deli ham. I don't know why it's
Yeah.
called
I don't know.
Or like like lunch
I
meat
wish I had the
ham.
answer.
Not even deli ham, like
I'm
lunch
Canadian,
meat
I wish I had the
Oscar
Yeah. Sorry, Char.
I don't get it either. I'm Canadian and I don't even get it, so
Yeah,
I don't blame you. Regular.
But do
fatty
you
meat.
eat pineapple on pizza? Because that's been a reoccurring theme.
I love that.
I
That's really good.
do. I totally eat pineapple pizza.
I'm with
So
you.
good.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yep.
So good.
I'm like, put whatever on it. I'm just excited to be eating pizza. I don't eat it with cheese though, but that's that.
I'm like, no cheese.
But that makes
I
sense
live
for
for cheese.
cheese, Rowan.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of the dairy issue for you. So that makes
Oh,
sense.
true. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Lactose intolerance or something.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
severely.
Gotcha.
Oh,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Makes
My
sense.
body is like,
Yeah.
What's your favorite substitute then for cheese?
I like sharp aged cheeses are generally mostly lactose free, and so I'll do like a sharp aged cheddar, or I found like some vegan option of things that are good. Like a lot of the time, a nut based cheese is usually pretty good, but because I've been lactose intolerant since I was born, I like don't really feel like I miss it that much. Like I've had real cheese and I've had fake cheese. Real cheese is better, so it's like, why sub it in? I'd rather just not have it, you know?
Yeah. True.
Totally.
Like I don't want to ruin something with something I don't like, and so I'd rather just have it without.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
I guess
do think like oat milk and hemp milk are the best milk.
oat milk, yeah, 100%. I mean,
Yeah.
I do full dairy, but I love oat milk. I think it's amazing. Yeah.
I've never tried it, so I'll have to try it. I don't.
It's good. It's so good. It's like it's rich and creamy. Like it froths super well. Like I have a little home like mocha pot and like kind of a milk frother. So like it's perfect for that, and it has more protein than a lot of the other milks. I think it's super tasty. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to try it sometime.
If you're trying to find something like similar consistency, oat milk or hemp milk would be the easiest to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what I like about
close,
regular
but,
milk.
like,
Yeah. Sorry, Ron. I was just saying that. Yeah, I like milk for the thick creaminess of it. So if the other oat milk's like that, that'd be interesting to try. Yeah.
No, it's amazing.
Chobani does like an extra creamy one that I think would be a good one to start out with if you've never had oat milk, because it's a thickness.
Nice. Yeah. That's what's key to milk is the thickness.
I like my milk thick.
Yeah. Right. Someone who comes into this chat like right then is like, what? What's
I like my
on?
milk like I like my size.
Yeah, like this is like they're like, how far into the drinks with the chat people have I gotten into?
Right.
One.
We're all at one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's that bottle, Rowan?
Yeah.
I know. I'm like, is there more beer left, or should I get Bailey? I
There
have.
might be
Like,
about 30 more ounces of beer left if you've only had.
I could do like whiskey and water or something. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna decide on that. I'll be back.
You are in the fun corner, so.
True.
That's true.
It's true. Very true.
Yeah, that's got to be tempting because she's got a drink cart right behind her.
I know, right?
I'm like,
Don't have anything around me.
Oh,
Very
look at
nice. Look at that. Oh, there's
I
even
love
there are
presents.
options.
There's presents and drinks. It's like, I couldn't imagine being like drunk and trying to open presents, just going, ah.
That would be the best way to open it.
Yeah.
I don't
be
even
like-
remember wrapping this. This is great.
I know. I used to do that when I was a kid. I just open up the presents all drunk and. No, I'm just kidding. So it's like,
Just open them drunk.
Yeah, it's Captain Black.
Oh, that's
I think
six
we
or
are
seven.
ready for another question.
It's getting out of hand.
Go ahead, yeah, go ahead and fire away. I'll put it on the screen.
Okay, but look at the wrapping paper I have real quick. Look how cute.
oh wow,
Oh,
That
They're
was
little
awesome.
dinosaurs.
that's awesome. Where'd you get that, Rowan?
Target.
Love it. Okay, I need to show you some wrapping paper in a second too, but I'll wait to this question.
There it is, folks.
Is it bad if I say the election? Or the election results?
We still don't have
That's
the
not
story.
bad. Like, that's not bad.
Rowan.
Even
That's fine.
Canada was excited about that, I'm pretty sure. We're like,
I'm like, I don't want to get political, but yes.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'm pretty sure
We
we're
don't
all
have
the
to go
same
there.
boat.
We'll just agree and move on, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's like,
that's good.
that was the moment. Okay, everyone, cheers.
Yeah, seriously. Everyone around the world.
The whole world just took a sip.
Industrial Girl said New Year's Eve. That's pretty good.
I was going to say January 1st, because it'll be no longer 2020.
Although,
No.
like I'm 25, and it's exciting to have lived through so many like big moments in history. You know, like I
Sure.
wouldn't say 9/11 is exciting, but like gay marriage being passed and having our first black president and like added rights in a lot of areas.
Yeah.
And now the pandemic, like I've seen a lot for only being 25. I'm like, that's pretty exciting, you know? Like I was never super big into history as a child, and now I feel like it's inspiring me to look more into history and appreciate it.
Yeah.
So.
That's really cool, Ron. Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense because I feel like there was so many kind of unprecedented historic events that have happened, like in the last 5 to 10 years. It's pretty monumental in that respect. Yeah. That's cool.
That's
really
true.
cool.
I never thought of it that way, but that's a good point. Yeah. Like I'm 31 myself, so it's like to know that I've lived through things, like you said, to see a black president and to see, like, to go through a world pandemic. Like you never think some things that you're ever going to see, or to see Trump become president. Like certain little things too that you're like, you kind of laugh at, but at the same time you're like, that was a moment in history that everyone will remember. So, and you can say you lived through it. So it is cool in that sense that I never really thought of. Everyone, I think this year is more just going, okay, 2020, we're done. Let's go. But
so
it's like, you know, when you think about some of the historical things that 2020 brought out, like murder hornets. I don't know if that's really a 2020 thing, but
Well, like,
yeah,
2020. A lot of the vaccines, this is the first one that like was primarily led by female workforce and female researchers, and so that's really exciting too. Like most of the vaccines we have were primarily putting on a lot of the work. So like, that's a small accomplishment, you know, like the fact that they're putting in the hard work.
Very true.
That level, you know, like it's just like little things. Like it's exciting.
Well, I guess if you think of it too, like when the last pandemic where a vaccine would have had to have been made would have happened, it would have been mainly male doctors. Not to sound like it's a sexist thing, but it probably would have been, right? In the time of history, that moment, there would have been mostly male doctors running the calling the shots. So you would have very rarely had women involved. Now, being 2020, the world has changed so much. Women have pushed forward so much that now it's cool to see that, like Rowan says, women are now involved in making the COVID-19 vaccine, which is great.
Absolutely so. And I would say, like, to your point, Char, too, that I mean, I think like 100 years ago that was the case, and even today that's often the case too, right?
True.
I mean, it's awesome that we've made as much progress as we have, but still, you know, like the fact that you point out, Rowan, that you know there was a woman involved in creating one of the first vaccines. In some ways, it's very monumental. You know, even though it's 100 years later, like it's kind of in some ways shocking, but it's also a cool thing. And the fact that you know, like Kamala Harris is the first ever like female vice president in the U.S. And very likely, cross my fingers, hopefully we'll be president at some point, is unprecedented, right? There's never been a woman that's been a vice president or president in the U.S. So that's actually
the other day, I found out that like women weren't even allowed to have their own bank accounts until like the 1970s. And I was like this is not long ago. Like, this is crazy.
It's crazy how many things that really weren't that long ago when you look at it in the scheme of how long time has existed for the human race, and you kind of go, wow, that really wasn't that long ago.
One like human rights in the 60s too. I'm like, my parents were born in the 60s. Like that's not long ago.
Exactly. Right.
So maybe in some ways, like in that respect, we're on kind of like an exponential curve of progress, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully. We'll
Just feels
see.
like a
I feel like the country is divided, but we'll see.
I know, that's true. So, so Mark, I want to speak to the question though, too, like on a more personal level. I mean, besides Rowan's point of the election being one of the best moments of 2020, I would totally agree with that as well. Like kind of on a bigger picture, but I think on a kind of a smaller scale, for me, like one of the most important moments or best moments of 2020 actually was a kind of time period between March and September for me, which is the first 6 months of the pandemic, and that's mainly because of the pandemic. I was working from home all the time, and Beth actually had a ton of free time because she had quit her job and she was going to do contracting. So we had a ton of extra time to dedicate to March to May. And Beth and I think, became probably closer in some ways than we'd ever been, in the 8 years we've known each other. And, we finished recording our album and put out 3 music videos and did a bunch of other stuff. And it was just really kind of cool to be able to have so much really close connection and creativity come out of a really horrible situation. So for me, like, that moment in some ways, was a 6-month stretch, during the whole time of the pandemic, that was really pretty powerful. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's cool.
I'm kind of in the same boat, and I think Captain Blackwood and Industrial Girl and Tony probably realize this too, that my answer to that question would be the Alice tour. Had Tosh not asked me to open up their shows back in May, then none of this would have happened. I already knew that my mindset was not to do virtual anything back in May. I would have continued on my path of doing like probably written interviews. I was just starting to get credentialed for the movie companies and the film reviews that I started doing. So I would have put all my energy on that. And I would have done none of this. And then, I went from the first leg, which I thought was the only leg I was going to do. And then my birthday was the very next day in June. And then I find out that day, Mark, we want you for the next interim shows we're going to do. Mark, we want you for the second leg. Mark, we want you for the third leg. And I'm kind of like, and I never wanted to assume that because I thought that was not my place to assume that. They're kind of running the show. It's their tour. So I want to make sure that they're happy with it. They also love to always innovate and try new things. So they could have said, well, we've done the interview thing. Let's put something else in there at the beginning now. And they never wanted to go that route. So I'm so grateful to them because, it's given me so many opportunities to stay artistically relevant, meaningful. Like in Darren, in best case, I got a chance to actually virtually meet them. Rowan, I still haven't met you either. So virtually I've met you. Char, I've met in the face to face. But so, that's been
pre-COVID.
It's been a huge plus for me that I can look back. And I know some of my other artistic friends are really struggling during this time because if they only say shoot photos at concerts and they don't write, they don't have anything else to do. They're shooting pictures of birds and architecture and anything else, and there's nothing wrong with that, don't get me wrong. But for me, it's like I've got a whole list of movie companies. I have stuff that's due on Monday. I have another movie to watch tomorrow night and review before it comes out. I've got some other interviews that I'm trying to line up in other countries in the world. So it's been as crazy and messed up as this year has been. It really has given me these opportunities I never ever could have figured out on my own and said, hey, why don't we, try to do 100 live streams in 7 months or 8 months or whatever it's been. There's no way I would have thought about that. I'm actually to a point where I've done more live streams now and interviews than I did of in-person interviews in 5 years.
Wow.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
But, so there's been a huge plus of this. Some of the folks that are in the chat from the Alice tour who are also fans like myself, I got a chance to meet, so Captain Blackwood and Industrial Girl and Tony and Dusty and all these other folks that I wouldn't have known had Alice not decided to go virtual. Plus, there's all this really interesting thing too, is that, and I know this from following Alice, following the Soap Girls, following Mike Massey, that they've been doing shows since, like, especially in the Soap Girls and Mike's case, they've been doing them since April. So they're like on show number 118, 119. So as a fan, man, you get to see one of your favorite artists that many times doing all these different songs. I mean, unless you're going to be traveling around like the Grateful Dead or something and following your band around, you're not going to get to see them or hear them that many times. So even for Alice, I got to hear them live like 59 times or whatever it was. And that's cool. That's so freaking awesome to me. So I will definitely look back on 2020 for that. I also look back on 2020 that I know exactly what I was doing when I turned 50. I was on tour with Alice. So even if I'm on my, my bed and having dementia and anything else kind of thing, I'll remember, oh yeah, I was on some sort of, I may not remember the band, I'll just remember I was on some sort of tour leading up to my 50th birthday. And I can't thank them enough for giving me that opportunity. So that was awesome. So yeah, good question, Captain Blackwood. I'm curious, what's been the best thing for you? If you could put that in the chat.
Industrial Girl said that they graduated college, so congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Super exciting.
Congrats.
A lot of work.
That's awesome.
College, God, that seems like such a long time ago.
I have to go back. I'm not excited. I mean, I am, but I'm not. I don't like writing papers. I'd rather like sit down and do an interview or something with the professors. Which a lot of people think is crazy. Like nobody likes presenting in front of classes. But I think like anytime I'm assigned a paper over 3 pages, I'm like, just no. Like I'm gonna write it.
Please no.
The night of, it's gonna suck. I don't want to do it. You don't want to read it. Like, sit down and have a talk with me, please. Like, I can prove I know these things. I just don't want to have to write it.
Right. I can feel that. Yeah. I'd feel the same way.
Like, I don't mind taking tests, but for some reason, like, I hate writing papers. And I love to read, but like ask me to regurgitate like redundant knowledge and get it to a point where it's like 8 pages long. It's just annoying. I feel like it gets really repetitive. They tend to be fairly concise in what I'm trying to say. So like, I have to meet this word count. Like, but it doesn't. Like it doesn't really, but it does.
Yeah.
Rowan, does Carlos like to write?
I don't know. Carlos, do you like to write? He said no.
The answer is always no.
I like writing like poetry.
Yeah, like stuff like that I can see, or like
where you get to be creative.
I'm a drawing person. Like I was in school, I was always the person that was doodling in English class, but
I love taking notes, but like writing.
Yeah, no. Even notes was pushing it for me. I'd rather doodle on my piece of paper. I still have some of my books from high school, and I could look at them and I go, did I even learn anything in school? Like I constantly doodled. Like, did I even pay attention?
I think it's like something about like the organizing that was satisfying for me. Like if my notes look like organized and concise, I was like,
Yeah, true. That's very true.
Like, did I retain this information? No, but does it look nice? Yeah.
Exactly. Like I don't know what I just made look very nice, but it looks awesome.
I copied down the slide exactly as it was. So.
Yeah. It even looks better than the slide. So there.
That's cool, Captain Blackwood. I'm seeing what you wrote about what's been the best parts of your 2020. Oh, who's got a car alarm?
That's me, sorry.
Oh my God.
I already cover yours.
I'm gonna. Well, I was trying to cover the mic. I'm just gonna mute it for a second until it stops.
That was really funny.
It'd be funny, like the rest of the interview doesn't stop. It just doesn't stop. Like, damn it! I was silent the rest of the interview.
I was doing a video interview.
Okay, stop.
I was doing a video interview at the Sunset in Ballard here, and right in that little, it's not even really a green room because it has a curtain or whatever. And I just remember I was doing it right in the middle of it, and then the car outside the building, the alarm started going off right in the middle of us recording that whole thing. And it did it like twice, so that whoever was out there shut it off, and then we started resuming the interview, and then it went off again.
Come on.
I hate that.
Yeah.
Luckily, Catherine Pierce.
Car alarms. Yeah.
Right.
Also, I'm so sorry, but Char, did you say your favorite part of 2020? Did you say Char or Char?
Char. Yeah. It's like as if my name had an S on it, but it has a nice little C.
I just wanted to make sure because I actually get to ask you.
You're like, oh, hey. No, I always got teased in school because my name has the C on it. So people would be like, oh, it's Cher. And I'm like, it's Char.
It's Cher. Oh, no.
I got called Cher a lot in school. I really grew to like resent Cher for a long time. As I got older, though, I'm like, oh, I like it. She's fine. She's fine. People stop calling me it, so I'm fine now. But
so you wish you could turn back time or something? I had
we'll
to
ride
say
that
it.
pun for a while. Yeah,
It was there. I had to say it.
I know. I was trying to think of another pun, and I'm like, I can't even remember the other song. That's the only song I remember.
Or that you believe.
That's it. If you
in-
believe, yeah. Like, if you believe, I'm like, it's if you believe something. I don't know. But,
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I don't know if I just like spaced out, but did you say your favorite part of 2020 or the best?
I think I agreed the election was probably the
Oh,
most
okay.
entertaining thing. But in a sense of like a personal note, I didn't really say, but the kind of the cool, unique thing for me for 2020 is I would never have dreamt of doing live stream videos like this because I don't usually like to virtually talk in interviews or anything. I'm not really big on it. Even the website, when they say, oh, do you want to do video interviews? I'm like, no, someone else can do it. Like, I'm like, see you later. In the beginning of Metal Titans, my metal website, I did a lot of them, and I just slowly became more uncomfortable with the idea because I hated that either some bands didn't show up and sometimes the audio was terrible. They want me to do, like Mark was saying, in the green room kind of thing where a car horn goes off, and a lot of the bands would be like, oh yeah, we'll do it just behind the stage as they're doing like sound check. I'm like, I can't hear you. Like, some things grew frustrating and I just became uncomfortable, or some didn't show up, some showed up drunk. So it was just like, I'm done. But so we still do the occasional one, but it's very, very rare. But in this case, oh, fur baby. Sorry. That's easily distracted. Squirrel.
Squirrel.
But no, like Mark's kind of introduced me to this new world in the sense that I didn't used to be comfortable doing this. Now I'm a little more open to it, and I want to maybe sometime talk with our Metal Titans group and just say, maybe we should be doing live streams more often because they're pretty easy to do and it doesn't take much, especially during a pandemic. And it's a good way to still help promote those bands that are struggling, but help at the same time. And also, for me, builds confidence at the same time because I usually hate the sound of my voice, or I'm just like, I'm not really, no. I don't want to be on film. Yeah. So
I definitely agree, Char. Yeah, I definitely agree with you in that respect. Like, I mean, because we're performers, but there's something about live stream and actually like playing to a virtual audience, especially like on Facebook Live, is just so strange because you don't hear anyone clapping, you can't see the audience. Like, at least here we can see each other, the four of us. But like, it's so weird just playing for an audience where you can't hear any or see anybody. And so it's like, you play a song and you're done and it's silence, It's just like,
that seems so awkward, right?
Yeah. It is. Because like, as you probably know, Rowan, like, you typically you feed off of the audience too, like when the audience gets excited and, when they cheer or, or clap, whatever it is, like you can kind of, feed off of that to an extent. But yeah, with live stream, it's just, it's odd. Yeah.
Yeah. This experience has slowly opened my eyes to it a bit more. And I'm kind of gone, maybe it's something we should jump into, as even though we're near the end of 2020 and soon bands will probably all start touring. Well, I don't want to jinx it by saying, no, I'm going to start touring, and then I'll just.
I think it's going to be another year, but we'll see.
It'll be another year.
Exactly.
Yeah. Europe's definitely slowly jumping on the wagon a bit quicker, but it seems kind of funny that they are jumping so quickly because I've known some of the metal bands are already announcing, like my friends in Enslaved from Norway, they're doing a tour in Norway right now. Like they're touring like normal. Like it just seems kind of weird. They still have like protocols, but it just seems funny that some bands are still touring as long as they're staying Europe side. But you wonder
because their government has a budget for arts and culture.
True. Very true.
Their government makes it happen.
Yeah,
and they listen to their government when it comes to COVID.
I know, but it's interesting because like a lot of the European countries, their COVID rates are skyrocketing too, though, which is interesting.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, the Bolshoi Ballet, I think like 100 of their employees, like dancers, musicians, staff, and everything.
Oh wow.
Tested positive, and they're still going.
Oh wow.
So people are gonna this is serious. Like people are going to die.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy.
It seems so risky. I don't know. Like I was working in the restaurant industry the last 6 years too, and this like outdoor dining, especially in Washington, where it's like, oh well, it's cold, so can you put up like walls and a heater? But if we put up walls, it's indoor dining. We have created an indoor space in the parking lot. Like that's no longer
Exactly.
outdoor dining. The same
Yeah.
air is circulating. Like you're
I don't
going to
like
get sick.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all. I know.
Yeah.
I'm part of like a bartenders group on Facebook, and they're like, a lot of times people are posting and they're like, oh, what bars are open with like a heated covered patio? And I'm like, please don't go. Please just don't.
Yeah, like, like stay inside, make sure, like, if you stop going to bars and stuff now, down the road you can go sooner versus like if you if like we've all done this in the beginning.
It's common sense, right?
Yeah. It
And so many
seems
bars
like
are doing like to-go cocktails too. I'm like, you can still support your favorite bar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Actively
Exactly.
being there. And
Yeah,
like, who
right.
are you gonna go with anyway? Like the people you probably live with, maybe one or two friends, but it's COVID, so probably not one or two friends. Like just order the drink.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. It's amazing to see countries like Australia, New Zealand, who have
Yeah.
that have almost eliminated it entirely because they did shut down, they locked down, and they kind of kept everything, kind of closed for a while. And yeah, they're living somewhat normal lives right now.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see, like, I've never really heard about it on like Australian or New Zealand news, like when they did those harsh lockdowns, if any businesses went out of business during it, because that's what
Yeah, that's
BC,
true. I haven't heard of that.
people complaining is that they're like, oh, if we lock down, our businesses will shut down. And I'm like, but you have to do something.
You do, and I feel like that. I don't know for sure because it's a good question, Char, in that respect. But I do think that some of the other countries have support for the businesses. So if they shut down the business for 2 or 3 months and the government supports those businesses during that time that they're closed and they eliminate COVID, awesome, right?
Yeah,
that could actually work. So I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, Seattle's like a barren waste town right now, and I'm like, had we actually closed down for a decent amount of time, would we have beat the curve and not have to like do this half productive thing for so long that half the businesses have to close?
yeah.
Also, in the comments,
Yeah.
Captain Blackwood said we're working on approval, but actually the vaccine is good to go. I think as of either today or yesterday, so it's relatively new, but we are approved.
Yeah.
However,
Canada's
if you
getting it next week, I think.
if you have a history of having an allergic reaction to vaccines in general, it's something to talk to about.
Yeah, it's true. I know in Canada, like they said on the side that, yeah, we're getting them, I guess this coming week, because, yeah, I know the government said it's been approved and everything. Each province is rolling it out a little differently. So some provinces are doing it to rural communities with seniors, and then some are doing it to healthcare workers. Makes sense 100% to me. It should be all of them first, like protect the people who are protecting others who already have the disease.
Yeah.
So you might as well protect them because you need them if for some reason another wave comes before all the vaccines come out. You might as well protect the ones that are going to be there to protect you. So
yeah, I feel like the vaccine won't be available to me for like a year, and I'm like, that's
right.
I would rather healthcare professionals and seniors get it. Like I'm a healthy person. It's fine.
Yeah, like our our official health official person has told us already that they're like, don't expect anything until maybe end of summer for every citizen of Canada. At this point, they're rolling it out so slowly that they're testing the waters, kind of, so to speak. So they'll do healthcare workers, then they'll do seniors, then they'll do rural communities, then they'll do, and like I say, each province is a little different how they're rolling it out, but they're all doing it slowly and gradually. So it'd be interesting to see because, like,
the States too.
Yeah, because the UK gave the first shot already, so it'd be interesting to see what happens. Like, I hope they kind of keep posted how the shot goes with that woman who had their shot. Or some of the people anyway, in general. Yeah.
Yeah, like New York just decided that they're not going to give it to EMS workers in the first rollout. But other places are. So
Yeah.
I'm not charged, so. Anyway, I'm going to take a bathroom break. Enjoy.
All right. That's a good time for a question then, Captain Blackwood. Someone go for a bathroom break. How about a question?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, there it is. Thank you. So it's right on the spot. What was one new thing you learned or tried this year? I know what my answer is.
Mine is doing these live streams, actually. I learned how to make this all work, get proper lighting and all that. Like, it's funny because doing photography, like I have my big, huge lighting equipment, but to try and bring that up here into like my kitchen / dining area, like / computer area, it's like too cumbersome to be like, oh my God, why is there so much equipment? So it's been kind of a fun learning experience doing these video interviews. So I would say that would be my big learning curve of 2020.
Yeah, I think I would say actually, like I said earlier, I don't really have much like kind of cooking experience. I've kind of play around now and then, but I think because of COVID and being stuck at home more and not wanting to go out to restaurants and bars, my music partner, I think really, she's an amazing cook, and she, I think, really encouraged me, and also we kind of did like these like twice a month kind of like cooking sessions, like cooking with Beth. So, and we're still doing it now because she's actually in the UK right now. She's getting an MBA in the UK, and we still like schedule like Zoom calls for like a couple hours, and you know, I buy all these ingredients ahead of time, and it's like she literally like walks me through how to cook this meal. And so that's been kind of a fun thing where like you know, from the stuff that she's kind of proposed, you know, for me to do, I've done that, and then I've also kind of branched out on my own, and I've tried some other random things. So I think that's probably, you know, a kind of a new venture that and everything's turning out pretty good. So it's edible. That's all I can ask for.
I'm looking forward to the pork myself. I'm looking forward to the verdict of the pork. And
okay, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. I'm excited to try it.
Right? Instagram, the pork was good.
Right, exactly.
Beth approves. Yeah.
Yeah, Beth approves pork. Right, thumbs up.
Yeah, exactly. If she's like, then we're like, it was a bust.
Luckily, she can't try it because she's like a long ways away. So
That's true.
I'll send her nice photos.
Yeah, exactly. Send like a bite by mail.
Right?
Just one singular bite.
One single bite.
Dry eyes. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how come this tastes all like weird? And well, we did mail it, so what do you expect?
It was amazing if you had it fresh.
Yeah, if you had it like 2 weeks ago before I mailed it, before it got all weird and dilapidated and kind of like squished in an envelope
and moldy, you know.
And moldy. Yeah, lack of cooling system. Yeah.
I think my answer for this question has been. And it hasn't been easy, that particularly when I started doing the interviews, that I've really had to try to figure out how to see someone else's point of view. And it's particularly like at the end of May and early June, and even recently, some of my guests, you know, are on the other side of the fence, let's say, for me not to just immediately get defensive and try to maybe go after them or they go after me, and trying to find a way to actually be calm, be patient, and actually try to hear them out as long as there's respect there. But it's been a process. Trust me, there's been some times, especially before I went live with certain people, they're telling me things. I'm like, oh God, I don't agree with anything you just said, but we're still going to roll with this for 30 minutes. And it was really been, a true test of, can I actually put myself in someone else's shoes and not agree with it, but at least kind of see a little bit of what they're saying. And hopefully the same thing happens from my point of view to them. And that's an ongoing process, and I know it's not going to change. Things have been so divisive for the last 4 years, and but I have to realize there's people out there that, you know, they don't think the same way, and that's okay as long as there's respect there. I can deal with that. But if it starts becoming a personal attack, starts becoming something that's not based in fact, then I've got issues with it. But if you have something that you can kind of bring to the table, that you do have those things to back it up, I'm trying to be willing to listen to it, because initially I'd be like completely dismissive of it. But it's like, no, you know, take a breath or several breaths sometimes, and kind of hear,
depending on the opinion.
Yeah, kind of hear them out, because I do need to figure out how to have a dialogue with somebody, because we won't get anywhere if we don't. And that's been the toughest lesson for me to work with this year, for sure.
That's a good point, Mark. And I would agree. Like, I think like that's one of the hardest things to do, is actually have a conversation with somebody kind of who's across the table from you, you know, in terms of how they see the world, how they, especially like around politics and or religion or other things like that. How can you bridge that gap, and how can you, kind of find those common points or commonalities where you can actually have a conversation, that's productive and reasonable. So I think it's challenging, but it's good.
It's challenging, but really,
I agree
really
too.
needed and really important if we are trying to not be as divided. I think in young people especially, there's kind of a culture right now of if someone believes something that is against the fundamental rights of a certain group of humans, they completely cut them out of your lives, which I understand the thought process behind, but I think it's also important, like Mark said, to be willing to have that respect between you, so that there's room for growth. We are not anything if but humans are trying to find our own way. We're fed so much information, especially with technology, that they really led one way or another and to have something or another, especially if it makes up of where we're living, like our search results are wide, which is crazy. Yeah, I just found them. But I think it's really important to be able to, great skill that you're working on, and I hope that more people realize that and are working on that too.
Yeah.
It also just makes you a more diverse person, and your arguments or your opinions stronger if you know the opposing side.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think I used the example during one of either the fun tables or during an interview that, I do have some friends. I can think of one guy who's extremely conservative, but if I was having problems, he'd be one of the first people I would call. So we can put those things aside because there is that mutual respect. And we know that sometimes we don't want to go there. It's like, hey man, don't talk about that today. I don't want to hear your whatever you just saw on the news. And he'll respect that. He'll stop. But there'll be other times when I'm okay. If you want to go a few rounds, let's go a few rounds about things, and then we can have a beer later and laugh about it. But
bring it on.
then it's okay. But I just see so many people that have dug their heels into either side, that they don't want to come out of it. And it's like, well, we're not going to get any better that way, just in my own personal opinion. And again, it's freaking hard when you got someone that's so 180 degrees opposite of you. But again, if I feel I'm being respected, then I'll try to make the effort to, try to come together on some level. But it's it's not easy.
No, it definitely isn't. Like even like I know I have friends too, same thing, that you have like you really butt heads sometimes because you have such a hard opinion on something. But I know myself, like you're all doing too, is that like trying to see from that other person's point of view and trying to have a mutual respect for one another is like truly how the world will grow and become a better place without being so divided, because the world right now is so divided. The pandemic's also, I feel, made it worse in some ways because people being isolated and going through emotions at home or watching things and just tunnel. And so it is a learning process. I find I've actually learned more to be a little open-minded because the pandemic has shown so many sides of things that I'm just like, okay, I can see where that person's coming from, where that rage is coming from, or where that frustration's coming from, but I can also see it from here too. So it's opened my mind too, like you say. But Mark, you're right. It is a very hard process it takes years, in my opinion, because like I know when I was, even in music in general, like I used to be very stubborn. It was heavy metal or nothing, and that was it. And now I'm so much more open from that I just don't really listen to it.
Check out this guy's band right here.
That guy, wrong way. Yeah, I haven't learned the pointing thing. I don't know what I'm pointing.
Check out March to May.
Right.
That way? That took way too long.
No, how do I do that? Yeah.
Also, apparently, I might have been having mic problems. My mic was set to auto adjust, and I tend to talk really quietly, and I had my hand over the mic, so I took it off of auto adjust, volume all the way up.
Okay. All right. So Industrial Girl, let us know if that makes an improvement for Rowan in terms of you being able to hear. Sometimes, it was kind of fading out for me a little bit too, but.
Yeah.
Also, I talk a lot. Maybe it's for the best. Blessings again.
All
Fade
great.
out.
If you believe in blessings. I
We're like, well, okay.
have a lot of opinions. I like to talk.
Yeah, I remember the last fun table, Rowan. You got kind of philosophical, and the further we got into it, with I think you and Anissa were the last two people standing.
You know, I was like, I talked so much. Like Carlos was like, "How did it go?" And I was like, "I'm pretty sure I talked the whole time." Like, like Anissa, I know, so it was great. But the other member of the chat was new to me, and I wish that I had been a little bit better about creating space for them to talk, because it was amazing. I loved everything that they were saying, but I feel like I was a great listener as a younger self, and as I got older and you were asked to voice your opinions a lot more, to air that way. And so I think I feel like I'm doing better today. Would like to pat myself on the back for it, but yeah, I feel like I talked a lot. So.
Well, I remember during that session that Erica started saying something, and that's when I started having those audio issues. So, like, she was saying something, I think, pretty poetic, and I didn't hear a word of it.
Aw.
And I said, I'm
It's a
so sorry.
poetic moment.
I just heard all this robo talk for a second, because she had like blipped off the screen for a second and came back on, and I felt so bad. So I don't think you were, not sharing the air at all that time at all. I think you were fine.
Yeah. And I would say tonight, like you're fine. You haven't been like, taking over the whole screen. So
That's good. It's something I'm working on, so I'm like happy that there's progress. But yeah, no, I feel like Erica was very eloquent, and her thoughts were fully formed. Like you could tell that she's someone who maybe gets lost in her thoughts in a very good way. Like she takes time thinking about things, and it's nice to be around people like that.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it,
Yeah, Darren, I don't know if you know Erica Lundahl. That's who we're speaking of, another musician.
Oh,
Hopefully.
Yeah. She actually put us in touch with our photographer for our album cover.
Oh,
through like a woman helping woman music group. So yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Small world.
Met her once. She's great.
Yeah, she was the guest on round 16, the last fun table that we did. So that's what we're speaking of.
Oh, I love it. Okay, yeah. I know her. That's cool.
I don't think I do. I don't think I do. I don't recognize
Look her up.
the name.
She's super awesome. Oh no. I burned a candle to its completion. I don't know that I've ever done that before.
As long as nothing's catching on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's good. It was pine tree scented, and it was to fill in my tree scented dreams with my little fake tree here. I don't know. I can't get into the real tree thing. It seems really wasteful. I grew up with fake trees, so I'm a little bit biased. But
I grew up with fake trees too, so I don't know the experience of having a real tree.
it's got character. It's a little bent out of shape even more each year. I love it.
Point. A real tree though, because like in rural Maine, like I feel like people just go out in the woods and they cut their own tree and then they bring it back. So that's what my dad did. But like the smell of it is super cool. So like you don't have to burn a candle, Rowan.
Amazing.
But just like the actual like the scent of a fir tree is just like so good.
Yeah.
You don't risk the apartment fire. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very into more like musky and spicy smells. So there's something about the tree smell that I really miss. Having a fake tree, there's like these little sticks you can put in a tree that we had when we were kids for our fake tree that were like fir scented, but they're like as big as the branches on my little fake tree. And so I was like, I don't think I can get those, so I got a pine scented candle, and it filled the gap. But that's the one that
There you go.
burns to completion.
There's ways to improvise. Yeah.
Exactly.
I know we grew up with, I grew up with fake trees, but then we got real ones pretty early on. And like what Darren was saying, once you get used to that smell, I mean, I don't think I would ever want to go back to a fake tree.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And like.
I completely associate that with Christmas. That smell.
Yeah, and I was gonna say sometimes too, like when you're walking through a forest, like if you guys could like hike at all, sometimes you walk through a forest and you're walking down this trail and there's trees on the other side of the trail that you don't even know, but you smell it and it smells like Christmas because it's some kind of fir tree It's just
There's a company out of the UK now that is you like rent a real tree from, and so they plant the pine fir trees in pots, and you can rent them I think for I want to say like 10 years. So from when they're like 3 feet to like 6 to 9 feet, and then they reach like the end of their life, the end of being a pot size, obviously, and then they'll plant them so they don't just lose their life. I'm curious, like how much more efficient that is because you're dealing with like the transportation, like smog each way, you know, and the transportation costs. But I think it's a really neat idea and a really cool like step forward because real trees.
I agree.
I love trees.
I know. I'm the same way. I totally get that. And actually, in Seattle, you can do that too. There are a few nurseries that will basically you can buy like a live Christmas tree in a pot. I don't know the lifespan, like you're saying. You know, if it's like 10 years or 5 years, I have no idea. I keep meaning to do it. I haven't done it yet. But yeah, you can buy the live tree, and then when Christmas is over, I guess you keep it. You put it outside for the year until next Christmas, and eventually you plant it in your yard. Yeah.
Oh. I have a house. I don't know that I want a house, but when I have a larger dwelling.
Exactly, right, where you can plant a tree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see nice stalkers talking about my wife is allergic to pine, so no tree. In that case,
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Oh. That's pretty sad. You didn't even get to experience pine.
I'm also really curious what your guys' favorite or what Christmas movie you reach for every year is on the theme of Christmas.
Right.
You guys have like a go-to?
Like a go-to thing for Christmas, you mean? Like
not like a go-to movie or like film.
Oh, like a go-to movie?
Mine's probably a Christmas Story, honestly.
Mine's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Yeah. Speaking of squirrel earlier. Yeah. I guess that's kind of applies. Yeah. But yeah, that's definitely my go-to every year. I own the DVD, but yet every time it shows up on TV, I'm like, I'm just gonna sit down and watch it. And I'm like, I own it on DVD. I could watch it without commercial.
My dad loves A Christmas Story, and every year they have it on TV, and he'll sit there and he'll watch it. And I'm like, this was on yesterday and the day before, and I have it on DVD.
Okay, it's not that bad. If I watched it the day before, I won't watch it again.
Like if it's on TV, it's on at my parents' house.
That's awesome. Mark, how about you?
I'm trying to see if I have it here. I do. I don't know if you've seen this movie called It Happened on Fifth Avenue.
No.
Black and white classic. And about maybe like the last third of that film's around the holidays. So it was an interesting film. It's kind of about someone who's kind of borrows from It's a Wonderful Life and a little bit from A Christmas Carol in terms of the themes. And there's a kind of a down and out guy that knows that this really rich man in New York always goes to his second home for like about 6 months out of the year. So when he's gone, this guy goes and lives in his house. And there's other people.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, there's other people he meets that are in New York that are also kind of like trying to find a place to live and can't afford it, or they have some other kind of thing that want a lot like pets or something. So he invites them into this house, and it becomes this whole thing of like this kind of misfit crew living inside this guy's house. And the rich man's daughter, who kind of rebels against dad, ends up in that house. So, and of course, dad sends every PI he can think of that he can afford to go find my daughter. And so they find her.
She's at home.
Yeah, so it becomes like she says, Dad, don't throw these people out. Why don't you become one of them and see how they have to live? So he kind of goes under disguise as also a down and out person, even though he's a millionaire. And he has to like wash dishes and do all this kind of stuff inside the house. So it kind of gives him that whole perspective of that he lost about what it's like to not have anything. And then it kind of goes right into the holiday season. So it was an interesting film. I was looking for something that was like I think it was a list of like lesser known holiday gems or something I saw online. And I said, well, what's this film? So I ended up watching it. It was pretty good. But my go-to would always be Christmas, Charlie Brown Christmas for me. Not really a movie, but just
Mark, I was going to guess that about you. I don't know why. I almost said it, actually.
There was a Snoopy behind him.
I know, right?
Or that I kind of look like Charlie Brown with my big head or something.
Right there in the corner.
Yeah. I think if it's movie wise, I do. If A Wonderful Life is on, which it always is on Christmas Eve, I'll watch some of it. I don't care. I mean, it's not so much even like as a holiday thing. I just enjoy the craftsmanship of that film that Capra did. I mean, it's so ahead of its time, and it bombed when it came out. Nobody liked
so
it.
good though.
Yeah. So
It is a good movie.
Do you like Harvey too? That's like a movie I grew up watching.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I went through a whole Jimmy Stewart phase.
Jimmy Stewart is beautiful.
Yeah, I watched that. I watched, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. I watched, Shop Around the Corner. A bunch of these other films back in the day. I was just saying, I'm missing some things here. Krampus is my go-to. I was disappointed in that film when I saw it in the theater, Industrial Girl. I love Trick or Treat, so I thought, same director, Krampus is going to be great, and I thought it was disappointing. I still think it's disappointing, but that's just me. Die Hard.
I like the idea of like the Krampus story. Like my mom and I were talking about this the other day. We're like, can you imagine being a kid and being told you're bad, so you're gonna get a visit from Krampus, this big, huge, creepy monster thing? Like, I'm like, that would be so traumatizing as a child.
Wait, so
This reminds me of like The Office.
Yeah, it does.
Because Dwight, I think, was like Krampus one.
Oh yeah.
I'm actually not familiar with Krampus, so like, where's that from? What's the story?
Krampus is like
Europe,
it's in
right?
Europe. Yeah, it's in Europe for the most part. It's if you've been good for the year as a child, they tell you you're gonna get a visit from Santa Claus and get presents. If you've been bad, you're gonna get a visit from Krampus. I don't know the entire story. I'd have to kind of look into it a bit more, but I'm like, the Krampus creature is terrifying. Like any European history, like
German,
fairy
that
tale
sounds right.
story.
Can you do that one? I'm not sure if everyone saw your
My dad is Bohemian German and English and a little bit Sicilian, but yeah, German. Like, my mom is like all Irish. I'm white.
and I see that Industrial Girl says it's a German folktale. Okay.
Yeah. There you go. I was gonna say it's somewhere specific, but I don't remember where. So thank you, Industrial Girl. Yeah.
I really like A Year Without a Santa Claus because I love like Heat Miser and the ice. Like there's dance and that scene is just it makes me so happy. I also think The Nightmare Before Christmas is definitely a Christmas movie and a Halloween movie.
I was gonna say that falls under both seasons.
Yeah.
It's funny like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Home Alone is a good one.
Oh yeah.
I like the original Santa Claus with Tim Allen, but not any of the other ones. The rest of them are all.
Yeah, the first movie is always the first one seems to always be the best, and like almost all movie series, as soon as they make multiples, you're always like, it's always the first movie. It always is successful the first time, and then it's like,
they go downhill. Yeah. I agree. I agree.
Elf came out when my baby brother was like 3, and so he watched it for 2 years every single day. And so Elf is one that I'm like so
Please
over.
no.
I never want to see that movie again.
Just like, please no. Burn
Like
all
it's funny, but like
Mm-hmm.
anyway. Yeah,
kind
it's
of a predictable Christmas movie, in my opinion. Like, there's nothing like it has some unique moments, but like some of the moments that are funny about it, they've stolen as parody from a different movie that was like an original Christmas movie. So you're like, and it's kind of typical Will Ferrell, to be honest. So it's like,
Yeah.
It's Will Ferrell has better movies. It's fine.
All right, Captain Blackwood, how about another holiday cheer question? You've been doing really good so far tonight.
I'm curious if he's making stuff he goes through.
Say it again, Rowan.
Oh, I said I'm curious if he's making them up as he goes or if he's got a fun list.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Can we ask the
Extra
question
props
here?
if they're sporadic.
Right. Oh man. Well, I would say straight up live music, like in person live music. That's the one for me.
Yep. Me too. going back into a photo pit. I am so dying to go into a photo pit.
Well, but don't forget, Char, sometimes you have to go to like a folk concert and hear something totally different.
That's true. I don't know if I'd fit in. I'm sure all the other photographers that shoot that kind of stuff would be like, what the hell is she doing? I'd be like,
We're like
you.
wear sunglasses and a hat, so you'll be fine.
That'll be fine.
I feel like
You know me, so you'd see me at that kind of thing if it's March to May.
Oh, okay, I'll be fine.
You're good.
If it's in Seattle, if it's Vancouver, they'll all be like,
I was gonna say, I feel like you can just wear all black, and that's like the typical artist uniform. Like,
yeah, you'll be fine. You'll blend in, Char.
It's funny because I'm wearing all black now, so I guess that's really fun. I'm already fine. I'm already fine. I've got this covered. Yeah.
I would say for me, what am I looking forward to seeing 2021? Yeah, I feel like 2020 is because people I would not say have great experiences. I hold close. I like to think that I have a really good, strong, pre-established bond, and so let life kind of get in the way of reaching out and contacting them. And so it's nice to have like the time, to actually be able to like reach out with friends and see how their life is going. And so I'm excited to kind of see how that goes and see if I can reestablish past relationships. That's an important part of being a well-rounded human being. I'm trying it. You got it. I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah.
Can you maybe speak a little louder? I think it's the headphones. I think they're maybe dying or something. I'm so sorry.
Rowan, did you use headphones last time, or did we end up just not using them? I can't remember what we did.
I did, but they were Carlos's, and I'm worried that if I talk too much louder, I'm going to get in trouble because it's quiet time in my apartment.
I wonder if we should we just try them without the headphones and just talking into your device?
Yeah, we can do that.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm with Darren and Char. I think I'm either gonna maybe tear up a little bit when I'm actually at a live event of any kind, or I'm gonna just jump up and down like I normally wouldn't, look like a crazy person, because I'm just gonna realize all that emotion is just gonna kind of hit me. I think when I'm actually there, because I've been thinking about it all these months.
Yeah.
How much I miss it, how much it means to me, and how much it means to all the people that I normally see, and then to finally actually be back at that. I think that first show, whatever it is, if it's a concert or a theater event or the opera or the ballet, it's going to be like, it's just all going to come washing over me. And you'll probably see me like, in the fetal position in the corner for a few minutes or something. And then,
don't worry. The entire room will be in the fetal position going, this is the best day of our lives.
An experience for sure.
Yeah,
There's just be like 1,000 people in the room, all in the fetal position, all praising the moment.
Yeah, I can totally see that, and that's very out of character for me. But I can see that that would be something that would happen. It's like it would just be too overwhelming.
Oh yeah, I'd have like tears down my face. I'd be like, "This is the best day of my life."
I feel like it's going to be one of those situations where like you're so overcome with emotion, but it's like the whole room, like the whole wave, and it's like that powerful where everyone's on the same wavelength and you're just standing there and like all the little hairs raise and you're like, all of our energy is in the same exact place right now. I feel like it's going to be one of those things that you'll kind of like feel in your heart and it'll stay in your mind for a while. So that'll be exciting. Yeah. Also, is this better? Am I louder now?
It's so much better, Ron.
Yeah, so much better. Yeah. Thumbs up.
To answer your question, go randomly. I have gone to LA to shoot bands, so yes, I would go to LA once safe to do so. Yes, I would.
Char, you've been down there for NAMM too, haven't you?
Yep. I've gone to NAMM. I photographed Behemoth down there when I did 7 shows. So I did the West Coast and kind of worked into Arizona, New Mexico, and then came home. So I photographed them there too, and just random bands that I know I'm close enough to them that they get me in. So like they get me into passes and get me everything I need for however many shows or what shows I want. So they just get me in. So that'll be such a tearful moment too for I imagine bands. Like, can you imagine how much energy the bands will feel when we're all sitting there in the fetal position, all crying hysterically? They'll also be up there in the fetal position going, the fans love us so much. Yeah.
It'll be like an intermission 5 minutes in, like
Yeah.
We just wanted to feel our feelings right now.
Right? The merch stand will be sold out within like seconds because everyone's like, we can physically go to a merch stand. We're not buying on the internet. But yeah.
What is NAMM?
NAMM is the National Association of Music Merchandising, or I think if I have the initials right, but either way, it's basically a giant music convention for artists, guitar companies, drum companies, anything involved in music. So any artists that go, bands. So it's not just metal, it's any genre in general. So like I know when I've gone, I've seen Stevie Wonder, I've seen Billy Bob Thornton, I've seen all these random people that don't even relate to my industry of work because heavy metal doesn't relate to Billy Bob Thornton. I don't know. I don't really know. Maybe it does. I don't know. But I shouldn't make that assumption.
All music draws influences from everywhere. I think like most forms, but
right. Yeah. So there's like 5 floors of stuff where it's just different companies like ESP guitars and Sabian drums and all the different reps and companies and the investors and all that stuff. So you got a huge, it's so overwhelming, but after the first year, it's easy peasy. But the first year is so overwhelming because you want to meet all these famous people that come only once in a blue moon to this convention because they're like, I'm just killing some time. I'm in LA, whatever. So yeah, like I've met Rob from Metallica there. And like I said, I've seen Stevie Wonder like passing by and seeing the odd person that I'm like, if this was at their concert, you would have never met them ever because they're so high up there in status that you're like, they'd get mobbed if they tried to actually step outside their tour bus. But same with like John Five or Piggy D, like any of the guys from Rob Zombie, same thing. It's like, if you tried to see them outside their regular show, you'd never see them because it's just, they'd get so annihilated by everybody. It's like, no. So it's a pretty cool experience. I like it, but I haven't done it the last couple times. And weirdly enough, we all kind of joke about how the last January 2020 that it happened and there was no limitations or anything because it hadn't come to the US or Canada or anything. It kind of makes you go, did it actually start back in January? Because there's so many people from around the world that come to this convention that it makes you kind of think, was COVID here when that was happening? Like it kind of makes you question, but you're like, you try not to think about it because you would come in contact with millions of people. So you try not to think about it. I didn't go, so I was fine.
Well, and Char, the one that you have gone to, that's the one that's in January?
It's in January,
the winter one? Because don't they have like a smaller summer one too or something?
They have a smaller summer one. So like when I go in January, I was always hired as Spectre photographer. So Spectre bases would bring me on. So I would get paid for it. So it was pretty cool in that sense. But yeah, like they offered the summer ones, but a lot of the times I couldn't get the time off my regular job. So I'd have to say to them, I'm sorry, I can do the winter one, but the summer one I just can't do. Or even sometimes they just didn't predict it was going to be very busy because of whatever was going on that year. So they're like, you know what? Sorry, we're not going to bring you in this time. We'll just leave it for January. So Summer NAMM is very small in comparison. It's all about the winter one for sure. Yeah. The winter one's a lot more fun too because it's for me being in Canada, it's so much cooler in January that to go to California and be in the sun for a week, I'll take it.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, and that's something I have not had a chance to do, the NAMM convention, and obviously that won't be happening this January. But maybe January of 2022, who knows?
Maybe, right?
Yeah, and actually, there was a good question. Darren, are you okay on time? You got to kind of split for your next session?
Yeah, I have like 3 minutes left, Mark. Thanks for being aware of that too. Yeah.
I would love to see this wrapping paper before you leave.
Oh shoot, yeah. Hold on a second.
I don't know why I'm so excited about it, but I am. I'm very excitable.
Well, it's like me earlier when your cat showed up. I was like, "Ooh, cat!"
Yeah, and then she was climbing on me, and her like butt was out. I was like, "Can you just not like right now?
Be graceful. Be graceful."
Right.
All right, so I don't know if I can. Let's see if I can bring this close enough to.
Oh yeah, the wrapping paper. I forgot we mentioned that earlier.
Sharks, yes.
That's
Shark.
awesome. Oh, a jellyfish.
Jellyfish.
What's your favorite type of shark?
Oh man, that's a good question. I actually went, yeah, swimming with manta rays, which is crazy. Snorkeling with manta rays.
Oh,
Oh, there's an octopus right there.
Oh, look at that. He's just tucked in the corner.
I know, isn't that cool? Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Sorry, you showed me yours, Rowan, and I was like, you gotta see this. It's pretty
I
fun.
love this like, whimsical wrapping paper thing. I think it's so fun. I'm like,
I agree. And guess what?
I appreciate it.
Target as well.
Yeah.
Target. I don't have Target up here, so I have Walmart or like that's it. We
get
had
like
Target and then they didn't do very well up here, so we lost it.
Darren, what Target did you get that at? Was there in Hawaii or up here or?
It was in Kona.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm on the Big Islands. So it was the closest Target. Yeah, to where we are. So
Cool.
yeah, so it's a very like tropical theme.
Right.
There's like happy sharks with Christmas caps and whales, and I know it's just fun. Like, look at this whale right there. Look at see the whale.
Oh, there it is. I was just gonna say, I'm like, oh, there's a whale. I didn't see the whale.
Sorry, do
There
you have
it is.
Anco in Canada?
Sorry, say that again.
Do you have Anco in Canada? ANKO.
No.
It's an Australian company. It's essentially if IKEA and Target had a baby.
Oh. I was gonna say we have
It
like,
for a little bit, but it's gone now.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Nothing
Right,
like
so-
that.
Like as close to Target as you could get.
Right.
I have to hop up the call.
Okay.
Nice to meet you, Darren.
Char,
Thanks.
Rowan, it's so wonderful to meet you. Mark, it was so wonderful to see you again.
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time tonight. It was awesome having you here.
Yeah.
I'm excited to go listen to your music.
Yes,
Right. Me too. Yeah.
yeah.
Me too.
It's really good stuff, everybody. Check out March to May for sure.
That's
Mark.
awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Darren.
Oh, I can see your little Christmas background now on the like
I
screen.
saw that too. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, the
That's
background.
when there's 4 or 5 guests, I don't even bother changing the background because you can't see it. But then this one, I said, well, I'm going to put it anyway. And then it worked in my favor that, now you can see it.
Poor Darren's like,
Yeah. You can look back later and
Like
see it.
secretly watching the live stream.
yeah, still sitting there going,
I didn't want to talk on it in 2 hours.
it's like, fine.
Hey, Captain Blackwood, let's have another question. It's a good time, I guess, to move on to, I don't know what number we're on, but
I know. We're on drink 3.
Have we been, I'm still on drink 1,
I'm on-
but it's a fair size can.
I'm on number 3.
Oh,
Okay, I was like,
I'm slacking.
that I'm on number 3.
Yeah, catch up, Char.
I'm not very quick. I don't do this often.
Yeah.
I don't do it
Oh,
often.
that's right. The real Atlantic Canada. I forgot.
We're sophisticated up here. No, I'm kidding.
Number
am I
6
kidding?
and
We're
final question. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Dun, dun, dun.
What piece of technology would you expect to see before the end of your life? I read that this year, but the first time I read it, the end of your life.
Wow.
There are so many possibilities. I like really enjoy dystopian future novels and like sci-fi type of stuff.
Mhm.
And so there are lots of options.
Hmm. I can't think of anything. Like,
Wow. Yeah.
I don't know if this is a piece of technology, but we were promised jetpacks at some point. Like, like the life of the Jetsons. I was kind of expecting that at some point.
Flying cars,
Yeah,
bionic
flying
limbs.
cars. Yeah, like a robot maid. Like, come on.
I feel like bionic limbs would be interesting. I say that because my joints are garbage, but
Yeah, I want mechanical limbs. Yeah.
so many other options,
Huh.
I'd be curious to see like the dichotomy between technology being helpful and technology being innovative.
Yeah.
Because I think technology has already gotten to a point where a lot of the times now it's just excessive, or it's let's do it for the point where we'll see if we can, and it's not necessarily
Yeah.
something needed or useful, and we don't necessarily realize how much it can be influencing us. I love
That's
technology. I think it's a necessary evil. And I say that hesitantly because I don't necessarily think it's evil, but I think our brains have not advanced as far as we are able to program things. And so sometimes we don't quite realize like how much of an influence it's having on our lives. And so I'd be curious to see if we actually take a step back from technology as my life goes on, or if it keeps advancing further and further, but in what direction, you know?
Yeah. Makes you wonder, right? Because like you see all these movies out there that are like the technology takes over the world, or like, you know, like Terminator and Cybernet and all that stuff. Like you wonder if that's going to become a reality. Like my joke of having a robot maid, well, it's going to turn into a Terminator and take over the world. Like, I don't know. You never know, right?
Yeah.
I hope that's not the legit truth. Like that's going to be 2021.
I'm less worried about technology taking over than like it subconsciously taking over, you know, like us not realizing that we no longer know how to like form communities and communicate if it's not via screen. Like people already have a hard time talking, and there's a lot of anxiety when you have to talk in front of groups. And so I'd be curious to see, especially now when we're so reliant on like Zoom and video, at least you have like the facial interaction, but with masks, you're missing a lot of the body language. But I'd be curious to see how things progress. There's a really interesting film called The Social Dilemma, which is on Netflix, that talks a lot about how technology influences us. And there's a lot of information in it, and there's a lot of things we can have an opinion on. But it's an interesting one if you have like I think it's pretty short. I think it's only like an hour, but it brought up a lot of things that I had not previously realized because I grew up in the age of technology. Like there was computers in my classroom in kindergarten.
True. Yeah.
And so,
yeah,
like,
see, me at
I never lived
31,
without it. Yeah. And so it's interesting to kind of see. I mean, my baby sister is 11 years younger than me, and she could work an iPhone at 3 better than my mom could. And so it's like,
oh, totally. Yeah.
like, I'm curious. I'm like, I don't necessarily know like a great answer to that question. Like what piece of technology would I expect to see? I'm just more curious about like the change in the pattern that would kind of evolve. I wouldn't necessarily know that I'm expecting huge things, but I'm very curious of how it's going to evolve.
Well, and like you say, it's funny because like technology, like when you would watch the old Bond movies and they'd have like fingerprint recognition and face recognition and like your eyeball like scan and stuff. Well, your phones now already do that, right? Like your phones already do facial recognition and like fingerprint scanning. So it seems so obsolete. Yet when you watch those movies ages ago, it's like it seemed like something that wouldn't be happening till like the year 3000. Like they made it seem like it was going to be so far advanced that you'd never see that kind of technology come to life. And then to see it now, it's just like, oh, well, now what? Now what do we have? Like I say, the jetpacks, like that's all that's left in my opinion.
You have like hoverboards where it's just like
like in Back to the Future.
Like motorized skateboards. I'm like, that's not a hoverboard. Until you're off the ground, it's not a hoverboard.
Exactly. Like, that's not the same.
I want it now.
Right? Great Scott, let's get in our DeLorean and get our hoverboards.
Or can you imagine like all the extra laws that would be in place of like riding a hoverboard? Like you'd have to get a license and
I know. The government would find reasons to add license fees and all kinds of things to make more money off people with hoverboards.
That's a really good question. I mean, and then like Rowan, you had a really interesting, way to look at it. And then obviously, I'm not going to live as long as you two if we go by years and stuff. But I'm trying to think of like, I don't really know what I would hope to see by the time I'm, I don't know if it's 85 or however long I live. Like, that's a really interesting question. That's a good question, Captain Blackwood. You kind of stumped me on that.
Right?
Because I always thought that we'd get to a point that we'd be able to communicate without phones. So like you like touch your temple or something, and you can just dial somebody. Yeah,
mind read.
Like that. I don't think we're too far. If you like, maybe you volunteer to have like a chip inserted into your body or something. But even that is like I don't think we're gonna have like flying cars or some of those other things that have been in the movies, but
I really wanted a flying car.
I think the issue for me is that with technology, I'm getting so far and far behind in what comes out now that by in another 30 years, I either won't know what the hell they're talking about. Hey, this new thing just came out. I'll see it on the news or something. And I'm like, I don't even know what the one was from 10 years ago. You're so far removed from
it. Doesn't seem pertinent because your whole life existed without it and you didn't think you needed it, you know? Like there's a lot of things where, like I said, like I just upgraded my phone only because it was like becoming obsolete. I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like if I want a good camera, I have a camera. I don't need a good camera in my phone, you know?
It's true.
I'd be curious to see if we develop some sort of like impartial judgment system when it comes to like enforcing things on like a court level, you know, because like a jury can be biased either way. But then I'm curious if that would be effective at all and if people would even look into it. Because I mean, like, who's best to judge humans than other humans? But at the same time, like, how do you become unbiased when you are a human?
Fair enough.
And I think it's important that we like keep advancing in the medical field too. But then it's hard because I think it's really good also to have empathy and to be an actual human when you're operating on someone. But I don't know.
It kind of goes into that old RoboCop theory back in 1987 when they made that film about you can't have necessarily humans policing other people, so you make a robotic one that has a human component to it, so you kind of get the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And that was back in 1980. I want to say 1987 when they made that film. And you think about that, you can't help but have those qualities when you're, you know, if it's law enforcement or if it's any other kind of thing, because you're human. So do you go all the way 180 degrees and not have that? Then you have other issues then where they don't have a gray area. So it's like, how do you find that middle ground? Would be really interesting. But yeah, I think I have a feeling that when I'm like 70 years old or whatever, I'm like, I don't give a shit. It's like, whatever's going on is going on. I kind of take my cues.
I feel like I already don't care, so it's fine. I'm wearing like a fitness watch and I have my new iPhone. Take this off and then say it.
Do you have a 12? Is that what you got that you upgraded to? Or
Yeah, I just got the mini because female pockets are tiny and this one fits in my pocket.
That's so true. Like, why do we even have jean pockets? Why? They serve absolutely no purpose.
Like my eyes aren't to the point that I need a really big screen, and I'm also used to phone screens being like this big, you know? So like,
True.
Like this
Very
is a
true.
lot. It's a lot. I'm used to analog texting where you have to press 4 times to actually get the letter you want.
Oh yeah, those were the days. The old little slider phones, and then you had to type with the
cool.
letters. You're like, yeah,
So you have a full keyboard and it's just not just 10 numbers.
yeah, not just the numbers. You're like, the actual slider phone was like an upgrade. Although I did have the phone too, where you had to push the numbers. So it's just like,
Remember the one that was like the stick of gum? I remember when I was like a kid, like the smaller the phone, the cooler it was. And now things are like, can we get the iPhone Pro Max? It's essentially an iPad, but it's a phone and it's the size of your head and you're going to hold it up like this.
Yeah, no kidding. It's just like, okay, so I'm going to hold the screen like this big up to my head. Not awkward at all, but.
Although I almost always talk on speakerphone. I feel like I'm a grandma. I'm like, I don't like having a phone here. Like those commercials.
I'm not gonna lie, it is. Like I've just recently started doing that too, and I'm like, it's so much easier on speaker. It's so much easier. It's so much more convenient too. Then you don't have to hold it to your head. You're not sitting there going, I'm sick of holding it. I'll just hold it out here.
I have 9 piercings total, and so it's like there's no good ear.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. It's just easier in your hand where there's like no piercing at all, unless you have like some sort of weird hand piercing. I don't know of anything like that yet, but maybe. I don't know.
If you're doing the speakerphone where you're like by yourself, then that's perfectly cool. If you start turning into one of those people, you're in the store.
No. Yeah, no.
Then you've like crossed the line.
Yeah, no.
What paper did we need?
Don't forget the milk.
Yeah.
What milk do you want?
What?
There's 10 choices.
What?
I just saw someone today at the urgent care when I was there outside. Granted, she was outside of the building, but I was right next to her. And yeah, she's on the speakerphone talking about things probably with her husband that maybe I shouldn't know because I
Oh
heard.
God.
So I'm like, yeah, it's like, this is like medical, situations and health things going on with you. I don't want to know
Right?
that.
You sign a HIPAA, so it's confidential, and now you're just sharing it with the world.
Yeah, like, and she saw me. It wasn't like she didn't know I was there because she actually moved away from me, but she didn't move far enough away.
It's like she couldn't have been bothered. She's like, I'm sure he won't spread it to other people.
He's
Sure,
probably
fine.
bad as mine anyway.
Right?
I'm never gonna see this man again.
Yeah. Who cares? I'm sure I'll never run into each other again. 2 days later. Oh my God. Yeah.
You're that woman.
How did we run into each other again? Yeah.
I recognize that voice.
Yeah. I recognize that medical condition. Yeah.
Remember when the hashtag was called the pound key, right? Like hashtag. I like to say hash brown because potatoes are infinitely better.
It's very true. Hash browns are always better than the actual hashtag. Great, now I want hash browns. It doesn't matter that it's like 11:15 at night. I'm gonna go make
I know. I'm like, I should have dinner sometime.
like, yeah.
I had a big lunch.
Right. This is completely random, but I laughed because like we were talking earlier and I heard a meow behind me and I'm like, is that my cat? I swear I locked him out of the room and I looked behind me and my cat was behind me and I'm like, did he develop thumbs? All the doors into the room are closed. So, oh look, there he is. There he goes. I could probably grab him if we want visual. If we want an actual
Sure.
visual of the
I'm
cat.
always down for
Well,
fuzzy
that's odd.
creatures.
We've had so many pets show up on the fun table.
There you
I love
go.
furry friends. I saw this video of like a mink creature. It's really similar to like a mongoose, and that's so cute. Oh, he has boots. Look at him, and a mustache. What a gentleman. Or gentle cat.
All right, here he is. He's not happy at all. I don't know if you can hear him, but he's not happy.
I just heard that.
Yeah, you can hear the little grumbles like, there we go.
I like his
There
mustache.
he goes. There he goes. He's camera shy. I'm gonna say he's camera shy.
Wow.
But
He's a typical cat.
I just washed this hoodie. That sucks. Now there's gray hair everywhere. Oh well. It's not like I'm not at home and can't wash it again.
And Master Mark.
That was my cat Smokey. He got an honorary video time.
Attendee of the month, Smokey.
Right. The most typical cat name that you can think of for a gray cat.
He's cute though. I like his mustache.
Right? It's actually funny. I don't know if you could tell from how he was being held. He has one side he dribbles, so it looks like a milk dribble going down. Oh, now he's meowing at me. Do you want out, mister? I don't know where you ran off to. But he's trapped in here. I don't know how he got in, so he can figure his way out.
My
I'm sure
cat,
he'll develop thumbs again and open a door. Yeah.
my cat broke one of her canine teeth, so she like drools on that.
Aw.
So she purrs. It's really cute, but really sad.
Aw, that's sad. How old's your cat?
6.
Oh, mine's the same. Yeah, mine's
You
6 too. Yeah.
She's like 4 pounds. She's real small.
I was gonna say your cat was like half the size of my cat.
I forget like how big real sized cats are until I see like a normal sized cat, and I'm like, oh, my cat is.
I wouldn't say mine's normal sized. He's like slightly above.
My parents'
He's a
cat
little plump.
is
Yeah.
3 pounds, so
It's funny because yeah, same thing. I babysat one of my cats, my brother's cats, like before the cat got old and passed away, but it was very, very small. Like my cat could have ate that cat. So, like it was just like, oh, I didn't know cats were this small at any point. Like my cat's just like big all the time. Because he was a rescue, so he was about a year old already when we rescued him, so he was never kitten size. So to see a cat like kitten size even, it's like kind of weird sometimes. You know they're that small at some point, but my cat was just big from the beginning.
It's like humans. When I see a baby, I'm like, I was never that small.
Right? Yeah. When your parents are always like, remember when you were small? And I'm like, I wasn't small.
I'm like, I don't remember what I ate for breakfast today. I don't remember when I was small. Like, why are you bringing this up?
Are you calling me fat? Yeah. That's funny. I've lost my cat now. I'm just like, well, I've lost my cat now. I heard him meowing earlier. I'm like, well, he's gone. I'm sure he'll interrupt the interview later on. When his thumbs hadn't grown back yet again.
Are you drinking the same beer, Mark, or have you switched beers?
So the first one was oops.
Oh God! Earthquake.
As I get rid of my my earbuds.
Earthquake at Mike's place or Mark's place. I just said Mike. I'm not even saying the right names anymore.
Let's see here. So the first one was this from Maritime Pacific, Jolly Roger, and then I just went to Guinness because the alcohol's lower. And so I'm actually this third one is the second Guinness.
Do you prefer canned Guinness or bottled Guinness?
You know what? I haven't bought this in a long time, and I kind of realized that nitrogen that's missing from the can, I wish it was in here because it doesn't taste the same. Obviously, nothing beats having it on draft, but
Well, there's like a little ball in like the canned ones too.
Right, and it helps kind of replicates that nitro thing like we would get on draft. So I think I messed up by getting the the bottles. I only have 2 more left, I think, so I'll be all right. But
I'm running out.
Nitro cold brew coffee, and I opened it. I was like, oh my God, what did I just do? Like, I didn't realize there was a little can of like nitrous oxide in there. And I was like, what is happening to my coffee right now? I'm like,
Oh my God, it's happening.
it was terrifying, but I survived. I've learned. We moved past it.
I accidentally had the whole apartment evacuate, but we're good now. We're good.
I did accidentally. I was trying to make. Have you had Hasselback potatoes?
No.
They're Scandinavian, but it's like a potato that is sliced really thinly like chips, but you leave the bottom. So you slice into like 3/4 of it, and then you bake it usually with just like olive oil and parsley and a little bit of salt, but you could also do it with butter and garlic, and some people melt cheese into it. I was trying to combine like 3 different recipes the other day and decided to make it with butter instead of olive oil because I was like, it's going to be more flavorful. And I was having salmon, so I could afford eating butter. Anyway, put it in the oven at 450 degrees without tinfoil under it and just like a silicone baking sheet. So the butter like instantly melted and fell into like the heating portions of our gas oven. And it was really smoky in my apartment for like an hour, and I had to take the battery out of the smoke alarm, and I was like fanning it, and all the windows were situation. And there's like 4 floors to this apartment building, and I was like, so help me God, if the firefighters come because I burnt butter in my oven, I'm gonna be so embarrassed.
Just like, oh, nothing.
The name of potato.
Just make yourself scarce. You're like, nothing. It wasn't me.
Apartment 207. What? No, I don't think so. I think you're wrong.
No.
I'm just
pretty sure it's 208.
Yeah.
I smelled something funny coming from 208.
Up through the pipes. I swear it's not us. Smoke rises.
Yeah, exactly. Be like, it was 108.
Yeah, the floor below.
It was down below. So we thought.
I definitely should have used tinfoil and not butter and probably olive oil. I scrapped potatoes that night. I was like, not dealing with it.
No.
We're having broccoli, thank you.
Yeah, and broccoli. All right.
I'm gonna try and get it.
All right. Excuse me 1 second. I'm gonna set my cat free, so I'll be right back.
Sure. No problem.
So we have to come up with our own questions now. Captain Blackwood has
Yeah, he did a 6, which was great, and
passed on the gauntlet.
yeah, I don't know.
Is Canada 420 friendly? Oh,
I don't. Well, let's ask the Canadian when she comes back.
Because marijuana was passed on a federal level in all of the United States. So I'm curious. I wonder if it's like parts of Canada or if nowhere at all.
Yeah, I don't know. So, Char, there's a question for you from Industrial Girl. Being the
I just
Canadian.
saw that. I overheard the words Canada as I was putting my earbuds back in.
Of course, we're talking about you.
Of course. As everyone's watching me behind, trying to get my cat out of the kitchen, like, come on.
Let's talk about her. Let's talk about her.
There's one outside, just
My
go.
ears were ringing. Yeah, my ears were ringing. No. We are 420 friendly. Yeah.
All of
Yeah,
Canada?
it's legal here. Yeah, it's legal up here.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was as of October of 2019, they officially made it legal in Canada. Now you can't cross the border with it. I know that. Like you can't have it on you on your person when you cross either into Canada or like for me to go into the States, into Washington or something. I know you can't either. But I think because in the States, I don't think it's federally across all the United States.
It just got that.
Is that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
like just got it? Okay.
Ago, like in this last group of things we were voting for.
Oh, okay. Like in the last bit. Okay. So then, yeah, in that case, yeah. It's funny though, because you still can't cross into Canada with it, yet it's federally all across the board. So I'm not really sure why at the border it's a different story. But if you went into Canada and bought it, you could go to a store and buy it legally and just be like, woohoo, I have pot, yeah. I don't smoke it myself, so it's not a big deal to me. But and I find the drug crisis in Canada is still pretty bad in the sense that there's still people dying from overdoses every day. It's not like it stopped any of that, because by the time we legalized pot, I think the harsher drugs laced with fentanyl and all these different harder drugs just became so much more like useful for people that were getting high all the time. It's just so bad right now. So and then COVID hit and it made it even worse because people used to group together, like a lot of the homeless or people that used would group together and at least have someone there to be like, oh my God, they're ODing. Now they don't have anybody, so they're dying on their own. So it's more depressing in that sense. It's pretty bad. I don't know if it's like that for you guys in Washington too, but it's a pretty bad homeless problem / drug crisis / yeah.
Even like our waterways here are so polluted with narcotics that like the fish that come out of our water.
Oh wow.
Oh, she froze.
Frozen.
Frozen in time.
You can hear me or not?
I can hear you.
I can hear you. I can hear you. Yeah. Oh, there she is.
Yeah.
Hey.
It's weird because my Wi-Fi didn't cut out, so I don't know what happened. But yeah, our waterways are so polluted with like prescription drugs and narcotics that like the fish that come out of specifically like the Seattle area are not very healthy, let alone our populace. But it's sad that it's had like such a greater effect on the environment as well.
Yeah.
I do think,
And
yes, people are the main concern, but it's sad that it's gotten so far, you know?
Yeah.
Industrial Girl, I'm sorry, I didn't catch the question that you said got lost in the chat. Do you remember what you had asked? I obviously I missed it too. So if you have it again, you could put it back in the chat so we can respond to it if you remember what it was.
I can scroll for forever if you want.
I was gonna say I'm kind of looking too. I was kind of scrolling, going, did I miss it?
Are there any shows you're looking forward to next year? I don't know if that's the question they were referring to.
Hard to say because nothing's really been scheduled at this point. A lot of bands, I know for myself, you're right, Rowan. I see a lot of European bands that come to the US and Canada, and it's extremely challenging because you just really don't I don't think the European bands will even consider coming here until 2022 because the cost, cost, it's just so expensive for them to come anyway, and then having to do smaller venues, smaller quantities of people, and the cost of bringing all your crew, all your stuff is just insane. I just don't see it happening. I know some bands that didn't even tour here before the pandemic. Now they're probably just like, whew, dodging that bullet altogether now with the pandemic, but which is a shame. They're pretty good bands. But yeah, some of the American ones and like Canadian bands, I can see them maybe starting next year, but definitely it won't be till winter again next year, which is a terrible time to travel as a band. So maybe they should just wait till 2022 like the rest of them and just say, okay, we'll start clean 2022. It just sucks financially to wait another year. And for us as fans too, we're all going, oh, we're dying for music right now.
I
But
definitely did not interpret that as music shows, and now I'm considering different things.
see, it's funny. It's like, you know, when you think of like shows and music shows, yeah, I take it that way because that's music's what I live and breathe. But yeah, for poor little Rowan in the corner, it's like going, that's not what I thought we were talking about.
I'm like, it has to be TV. That's what they're referring to.
Yeah, I didn't even jump to that. That's funny. I didn't even think of
Performances
that.
are canceled, shows are canceled, movies are everything's canceled. If it's fun, it's canceled.
Life's canceled. Yeah.
I know, like, here I didn't even think of dressing up for Halloween, and I worked on Halloween, and they're like, are you wearing a costume? I was like, what are you talking about, Halloween? Halloween's not happening this year.
Well, an Industrial Girl, to answer the follow-ups that you put in, based on some of the guests that I've interviewed who aren't just U.S. based, but they're based all over the world. It's hard to answer that question because, like, I know, like the Soap Girls, for instance, have a tour booked for April of 2021. Does that happen? Who knows? And
Yeah.
Ed Craig, who's been a tour bus driver for a lot of bands here in the U.S., he had a really good point saying that, at least in the States, that some of the states might be allowing concerts to happen, but maybe the one next to it is not. So then bands can't survive on that. They have to be able to hit
No.
show after show after show after show. So if they have to go from Washington, skip Oregon, go to California, skip, Nevada or something, go to Texas, all this kind of stuff, that's not going to work. In Europe, it might be the same type of thing. Like, do most of the countries allow concerts to happen so they can make their money? If not, if it's only like from Spain, then you got to jump all the way to the Netherlands and then jump to Finland or something. It's not going to work. So if you can get something, uniform, then maybe we can talk about things. But I think unfortunately it's going to be hit and miss. It's going to be certain places are doing it and some of them aren't. And then like what Char was saying, maybe by the end of fall, early winter next year, we might be able to get some semblance of stability where they can actually do things. But that's a horrible time for for bands to tour. Not really sure. Hey, Captain Blackwood, thank you so much for doing this and being the holiday cheer coordinator
so
for the first and possibly only time. I'm not really sure yet, but I really appreciate you taking all the time. So that was really cool. So I know you have to get going tomorrow. So have a good night, sleep well, and thank you again for taking the time to be a part of this tonight. I really appreciate it.
Have a good night and cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
I'm empty. Ice to you.
But like Rowan was saying too, like with TV and film and other things I'm involved with musical theater and ballet and opera and all that kind of thing.
I was in the middle of so many auditions, and I'm so sad. It was like, oh, come to callbacks. Just kidding.
Oh,
Also, I'm like really kind of newly into the whole rockabilly scene, and there is Viva Las Vegas that happens every year in April that I really, really wanted to go to this year, and that didn't happen. So I was hoping to maybe go to that this year, but I think it'll be another year's wait, which is fine. I mean, financially, I should not be going to Las Vegas right now. So
it's funny because like at my work, like I've got all this vacation time planned, and I was gonna go back to Scandinavia sometime this year. Like I was gonna plan to maybe late summer, like August, September. I was gonna go to like a metal festival called Beyond the Gates in Norway, and then hit up northern Norway, maybe hit up Sweden and stuff. And when COVID hit, I was just like, oh. But then now I'm like, well, now I have a whole year of extra money saved. I could go for like a month and just not come back. But now in 2021, that may be a different story. So you never know. It may be 2022, which then I'll have 2 years saved. So I could be gone for 2 months.
It's also really cool to see a lot of bands do like live streams and even like a more casual version of a live stream too, like something slightly more intimate, like in their home recording space and singular members of bands kind of having their own little shows as
Yeah.
solo artists as opposed to like a whole unit. So that's been really interesting too.
Yeah. Like my favorite band Behemoth did one in like an old abandoned church in Poland, and they actually had a film crew who they like, of course they socially distanced and everything, but they had a huge production for it. And it was actually like, I wasn't really expecting it so far. Like Rowan was saying that I've seen a lot of them be like intimate in their rehearsal spaces, or they may have just rented a hall and just played in a hall. But to be in like an old abandoned church with fire cannons and smoke and outfit changes, and like it was almost like being at a really special event. Like it was really cool to stream. It sucked from a photographer's point of view because not being able to be there to take pictures of how cool it was really hard inside. But it was still very cool to just visually watch for sure. Like so, some streams I've been like, yeah, it's okay, and then some I'm like Behemoth was definitely my favorite so far, but because it went the whole 9 yards plus some. But for the most part, a lot of the streams, like even my friends from Enslaved in Norway, same thing. It was like they did a high quality production studio version, and it was really cool. They did the same thing. They had just like decent lighting and you could see them, and they just performed, and it was cool to see because you just miss that interaction with your favorite bands. I do anyway, but and I'm sure thousands agree with me, or millions I should say.
Have you seen any of those live streams that some artists are doing? I forget the company, but I know like Chloe Lowry did one where they have like a bunch of monitors around the stage, so when the performer's playing, they actually see the audience that's bought the ticket or is tuning into the live stream. So
I haven't seen that. No.
Yeah, it's crazy. So they had like a ton of monitors all the way around. So there's the name, like just like this, the name's actually next to that person, so they can see them as they're reacting.
Oh, that's
to
cool.
That was like the closest thing I've seen to a live show.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool idea that they moved into that, and that was down in Tennessee, in some studio that they put it out. I don't know how many. They must have had at least maybe 100 monitors at least.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was crazy.
And it's kind of cool because at least if people clap and stuff after they see it, you kind of get that same feeling that you used to have like pre-pandemic. So
right.
Because I know like Enslaved, when they did theirs, they'd be like, and silence. Yeah. Like they kind of joked about that after. They're like, and woohoo, like to each other, because they'd be like, we know it feels kind of weird without you guys physically here, but we know you're there and thank you and blah, blah, blah. But like they would pop a little joke once in a while going, and silence. Yeah. And I'd be like, okay. It's true. It feels so weird performing to no one.
You know what's sad about that is that when pre-pandemic, like 4 years ago, when my duo used to play, we'd have the exact same thing. There'd be no reaction to it.
Oh, that's kind of sad and depressing at the same time.
I'd have to tell my singer, I said, hey, just pretend it's like a rehearsal and we're just going through our songs, because there was like no reaction to us for a while.
We like what we're doing. That's what matters.
And there was like
you're getting better at it, right? Yeah.
Well, I just remember there was one table off in the distance of these two ladies, and they were being so nice. They were trying to clap for us and stuff, like way off in the distance.
It's worse when you're really far away. Like at least come closer.
Yeah, well,
you can't feel that energy when they're like a mile over there. You're like, oh, there's a tiny clap way over there.
Yeah, luckily we got some more people that came in close to us later on during our set, so then it became better. But the first like probably 30 minutes, it was brutal. It was really tough.
Like, oh.
Yeah, I'm pretty good about letting that kind of stuff, wash off my back, but my singer was not. It really affected her a lot, that we're basically performing to no one.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to kind of like, that's too, like I know when before I started photography, my brother had me learn bass, and he wanted me to be in his band and stuff, but and I learned the bass, and I don't know any of it now, but don't ask me to play any bass. I don't have any of that skill anymore. But when I learned, I was very quickly caught on that I'm like, I have stage fright. like we didn't even play to anybody yet, like even just the group of us, like, so it was my brother and I, which was fine. But then when he brought the band in, I was kind of like, I'm not really comfortable with this. And there was only like 3 other people in the room. Like it only escalated to by 3 people. So we kept practicing, and that I adjusted to after like a week or so. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting more comfortable. Then they're like, we have our first show with like 50 people. And I'm like, I'm out. And like, I just walked out. I'm like, I'm done. And then that's when I determined that photography was for me, not being in the band.
Like, I love singing, and I did choir finally. Like, I built up enough courage, I think my senior year of high school, but then we would have to like go in singularly, and it was literally like you and the teacher for like evaluations throughout the year. Like, that's how you got tested. And I would lose my voice. I would get so nervous. And like, I've tried to do musical theater auditions, and every single time I like lose my voice, and I'm like, I promise, like, I can sing, but like, put me with a group of 3 people and I'll be fine.
Yeah. I'm not a soloist. I'm a
dance.
I'd be like, yeah, no, I no. I did choir in elementary school, but I only did it for like 1 year. And then same thing. I determined that very quickly, that I was like, as soon as they single you out, it's like, oh God, I gotta go. Yeah.
Dancing, like, I've been dancing 20 years, but like sometimes like you get a note from like your artistic director to like be more expressive, and I'm like, oh God, everyone's watching me and what my face is like.
Like, what was I not making before? Now I have to make more of an expression. What am I supposed to do?
And I'm like, do I have to move?
Dry eyebrows? Like, I don't know.
They're like, you look angry when you're dancing. I'm like, that's probably true. That's my concentration face.
Yeah. I'm being more expressive. Yeah, that'd be my answer. I'm being more expressive. I'm just choosing anger out of all the expressions I could be. It's anger. I'm channeling right now. So don't make me come over there. Yeah. Totally.
Mic's on for awards.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just reading the chat a little bit. I don't have glasses on, and so I'm like,
I totally get
squeezing
it.
like hello.
Yeah, if I don't have my contacts in, I'm blind as a bat. So
it's like the light difference that gets me, because I have a little bit of an astigmatism, and so like the blue light and then the yellow light, and then the fact that it's like dark right next to me too is just like, my eyes are like, I don't even know what's going on. We're here. We're trying our best.
I just saw the comment from Night Stalker up there, that Hailong band. Actually, I was going to see them in Portland because that was their first time in North America. They're a European band, and I was so excited. And then it snowed where I am, and I couldn't get there. And I was so heartbroken because I was approved to photograph, approved to see it, everything. And it was like they only were approving like maybe 5 people. It's just like, wow. I was so stoked. And then it snowed and I couldn't get there. And I was like, come on. But yeah. And then then it was shortly after the pandemic happened. And I'm like, oh, great. Well, I guess they're not coming back for a long time now. There's a bucket list band I won't get to see or photograph for a while.
Well, thanks, Industrial Girl, for hanging out. I understand that you're gonna, if your other channel started at 9, yeah, you're 2 hours and 43 minutes late to check them out. If that's the Bar Sinister DJ or whoever you're checking out. So, thanks for tuning in. We always appreciate you coming in and livening up the chat. So have a good night and stay safe down there in East LA.
Have a good night. Thanks again.
Bye.
I was just going to ask the two of you, what are your plans for Christmas? Just kind of doing what you normally do, or is it changed any because of 2020? I'm just kind of curious.
Not really. Like, of course, I would normally see my grandparents, and of course, I would see my sister-in-law and my brother and my nephew, because my nephew's 2, so it was going to be really, really exciting this year because he loves just ripping things apart and just. He's that age.
Yeah.
But with the pandemic, I still babysit him because I'm close enough to the family. I'm part of that little inner circle. But because of certain things, like my sister-in-law has so much extended family that she's just like, it's easier just to say no to the whole family and wait till it's safe to do so for everyone to make it fair. So we're just all gonna wait until whatever date works for everybody. But so this year it'll just be myself and my parents, actually. So it'll be a pretty small knit group versus last year or the last couple of years, where I have aunts and uncles that come from the interior of the British Columbia, and they come down and we all hang out for Christmas, which is usually like 7 or 8 easily. So it's, yeah, and there's space to do so, but yeah, now it's like not with COVID and risk of everyone getting fines. It's not really worth it.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
So, and being safe at this point, because our numbers are going up and down too. So it's not worth the risk right now. Yeah. How about you, Rowan?
Oh, I fucked up this way.
Damn, there you go.
Dang it.
I'm really conflicted because, so like Thanksgiving, my boyfriend and I decided to just celebrate on our own. His family's in San Francisco, and so like traveling's kind of out of the options right now anyway, but my family is only an hour away, and so generally we will see my family and then try and see his family a couple times a year, but obviously it's not as easy to get down there. But I'm frustrated in the sense that we chose to have Thanksgiving with just the two of us, both for safety reasons and for the fact that my mom works for the public school district, and they had a little scare among them. So it was just safer and obviously better for ourselves and for the public. But then it was frustrating because I worked Black Friday, and my impression was that, especially because at least in Washington, like things were locking down again around Thanksgiving, that Black Friday shopping wasn't really going to be a thing. But people came out in droves, and like I was just catering for the staff. But at the end of the day, I saw over 100 staff members. And if you think about it, I saw those staff members from like 9 a.m. to, I want to say like 6 p.m. And so each of them interacted with at least 20 different people. And so I was exposed to more people just working as a like crucial or essential worker. Like I'm sure I was exposed essentially to at least 400 or 500 people in my, what's that? 8 to 12 is 4 hours plus 6, 10-hour shift than I would have been seeing my family, you know? And so it's really frustrating.
Scary.
Some things are deemed essential and some things are deemed very not safe, because like most of my family works from home and most of them are at home. Like my mom is really the only one who's going to school because she's a teacher and she teaches special education, and it's hard to do special education virtually. And so I'm very frustrated. I haven't quite decided what I'm doing for Christmas yet. I have seen my family a couple times throughout the pandemic, and I am pretty confident in their ability to be safe. So I feel like I might see them, but my older brother is coming up from California, which is not something I had previously known. And so that's kind of thrown a wrench in the gears, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, traveling just seems questionable. Like if you're only traveling an hour to half an hour, like that's a normal commute for most people, but traveling 2 states up is like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard because like for British Columbia, we're pretty much restricted that we can't travel outside our health region. So for us, we have different districts. So Vancouver is Vancouver Coastal Health. For where I live in Abbotsford, we're Fraser Valley Health. So I can't travel to Vancouver Coastal Health region because that's a different health region. So I can only stay within like 100K. Like it's really, I'm not supposed to go like, well, definitely can't go to the States because it's closed, but like closed. But same with like, yeah, I'm like closed. But yeah, so like anybody, like when I see plates from out of province, I'm going, how are you here? Like, why are you here? Like, to me, it's like, it's the same frustration that you're like, we're doing our part to stay within our communities, to keep our own communities safe. And then there's people from like back east that are here. And you're like, you just drove all the way across. And I shouldn't assume they did, because some people may have been here prior pandemic, but some odds that you're like, some people have been doing it in our country too, that they're just like, oh, I'll just drive cross country. It's cool. It's something to do. And I'm like, no, Ontario and Quebec are the worst in Canada. Sorry guys, but you are. But they have like some of the worst cases. Even Alberta is pretty bad too. Like they're getting to like 1,900 cases a day. Whereas in the beginning, everybody was around 100 to 200 cases a day. So to jump that much higher, and like, we're not even that high for us. So it's like scary that the other provinces just don't seem to restrict as much. Our province is at least doing most things well. There's some things that we still have to work on, obviously. There's still some things like gatherings and stuff that you're like, no, just stop. But they've pretty much said same thing, where Christmas, if you're not the immediate household, you cannot have Christmas. They've pretty much just flat out said it, that they'll have bylaw officers and stuff patrolling neighborhoods just to make sure that the license plate of that vehicle at that house is registered to that house. And if it's not registered, you're getting a fine.
You're like, we've talked about fines, but I don't know anyone who's been issued a fine. And
yeah,
like, I worked in the restaurant industry, and I worked for a little while during the pandemic, like September to October, or maybe the end of August. I'm not quite sure. It's all a blur.
But it all blends now.
I'll be right back. Keep on talking.
They'd be like, we're a group of 12, and I'm like, okay, well, the law states 5, and they're like, we can have 2 different tables, and I'm like, no, you can't, because you told me you're a group of 12. So
yeah, so
I'm not trying to get fired and have the whole restaurant shut down because you're choosing to dine out with 12 people. Like, you're putting so many people at risk, and like, we've literally been open for a week, and now you're trying to shut down the whole restaurant. Like, I understand that you've been in lockdown for 8 months. We all fucking have, but like,
yeah, no kidding, right? We all feel you, but like, your need to socialize isn't more important than the rest of our health. Like, it seems like such a simple concept, but yet so hard at the same time, or hard.
I didn't know. And I'm like, how do you not know? Like, why did you knew restaurants were open, but you didn't know the party limit? Like,
yeah, like, it's just, at that point, it's almost like ignorance, and they're just going, they won't stop us. They won't do anything, especially if we kick up a storm. Like, we have people at like my work, same thing. Like, masks have recently become mandatory in public spaces because we didn't have the really bad case numbers. Now that our case numbers have kind of spiked again, they've made it mandatory in public spaces. So a lot of people just come in and they don't have a mask, and we're like, sorry, you have to have a mask on. And they're like, it's a medical condition. And I'm always like, I feel that the fact that you just kind of brushed me off, it's not a medical condition.
I don't want to assume, but also.
Yeah, like, the fact that you kind of just ran past me as you said it makes me feel like it's not mandatory, that like you don't have a medical condition that you can't breathe through the mask. Like,
the left side of my nose because I collapsed that nasal passage, but I can breathe out of the mask, so I feel like you're fine.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. You're like,
you're picking out apples at the grocery store. Like, you're okay.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially, it's even worse when like you see, like, because my mom and I were at the store the other day, and these 2 parents didn't have their masks on, but their like 5-year-olds had masks on, and I'm like, their 5-year-olds can grasp it. Why can't their parents grasp it? Like, it's so simple,
right?
So simple. But oh well. We could probably go on for ages trying to figure out why people do the things they do. You're like, I'd need way more than 3 more beer in the fridge. We'd need way more alcohol than what I have ready here in this fridge. But
I'm sipping Bailey's ice water. It's disgusting. If you were keeping
it's not recommended.
I'll be sure to make a clip of that and put that on my Instagram.
Bailey's water. Bailey's ice water.
disgusting.
Like Rowan's face with the glass beside.
What?
Bailey's ice water. There we go. And then beside, it's disgusting. I don't recommend.
1 out of 10, would not recommend.
Yeah.
It's hard though, like what Rowan was saying earlier about she and Carlos doing their own Thanksgiving, trying to do the right thing, and then the very next day there's all these people out for Black Friday shopping, and you see all this kind of back and forth. I'm like, well, wait a minute, what am I supposed to do? Because I think I'm doing the right thing, and yet now I'm kind of in some ways almost like being punished for it because I could have just went to my family's then on Thanksgiving if all these other ding dongs are going to be out. Possibly infecting me, over like I think you said the number like over 400 people. Maybe you could have come in contact, maybe more. And
well,
right.
The grocery store, I understand, but like I was working an event for Best Buy. Like,
yeah,
really, like Best Buy Black Friday shopping is more important than your life and everybody else's life to you. Like,
that's
really?
the big WTF that's going on right now. Like, it's true. It makes you wonder why people feel that way. Like, where is your priorities in life? Like, it should be your fellow community and protecting others and yourself and family, but apparently not. It's that big screen TV, apparently.
Well,
I'm shopping when I'm depressed. Like, retail therapy is real, but like, there's a time and a place.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I've mentioned too that like with this new night job that I started, that I did the right thing when I had sniffles or whatever, and decided that I shouldn't try to potentially infect and or kill the high risk population that I work with. I easily could have said, or not even brought it up at all. I'm just fine. I was going to work and do my shifts, and then if God forbid somebody actually got something, and it turns out they trace it back to me. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I knew consciously that I did that and made a conscious decision. So I said, well, this is going to hurt me big time by not being at work. But if this helps not bring this into that facility, then that's what I need to do. But
that's
not everyone.
True.
Yeah, not everyone's going to think that way. They're going to just be just doing what they do, and it could even be my coworkers there. I mean, for all I know, like I think I mentioned pre-show to somebody, or maybe if all the guests were online at that point, that we had somebody test positive in that workplace, a staff member.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, did they know? Did they have a clue? Or maybe they didn't have a clue at all. Maybe they're asymptomatic. I don't know the details, but in my case, I knew I had something, so I was like, well, I better do the right thing, let my boss know, and go through the hierarchy and all that kind of stuff. But I easily said, it's nothing, so I'll just kind of go in and hope that nothing happens.
Yeah.
So,
makes you wonder, right?
I worked for a company for a little bit where we had a contracted employee that tested positive. And it was interesting, like the level of communication that happened, because apparently all of the primary staff members were like told instantaneously. And at that time, I was essentially like a contracted employee as well. And then when I came in a couple days later, they were like, oh, by the way, you were working this day and the person we had hired tested positive, so you should maybe go get tested. And I was like, why wouldn't you ask me before I come into work? Like, why am I here? How you're telling me?
That's true. Yeah, you'd think the communication would be like, you have my phone number, so why didn't you just call me or text me or, a little more urgency than wait till I get back to the building where I could have contaminated people along the way.
Well, I understand this is a new thing, and so everybody's navigating it kind of blindly. But yeah, it was just interesting. I was like, okay.
Right. And I know here too, they've had issues with like contact tracing and stuff, like trying to keep up with it. So it's just been so bad in the last like month or so where the cases have really gone up. So they're trying to keep up with the contact tracing, but sometimes it took like 3 to 4 days. And I'm just like, can you imagine how many people you could come into contact with if you went to the store one day and then you went to work and then you had the day off and then like you come into contact with so many people in such a short time frame that 2 to 3 days or even 3 to 4 days is like too long to wait before you tell someone that, oh, you've been to somewhere that may have had COVID. You should get tested. I'm like, I've been to like places with thousands of people. Like I've been to the grocery store, I've been to Walmart, I've been here. Now you have to contact trace me because I've been to so many places in 2 to 3 days that it's just like, forget it, right?
I want to say like 2 weeks ago, Washington finally had their contact tracing app rolled out, but it's opt-in basis. And so it's like,
oh, yeah.
To an extent, like you can opt in to be your information shared, or you can ignore it. So,
oh yeah,
with everyone, I'm sure it would be a lot more effective, but I don't know how many people are actually opted in. So,
Yeah.
Like,
And-
it's cool in the sense of like things like that exist,
yeah.
but also
Right.
it's fine.
Yeah, right. Like, I know BC hasn't even approved the one that's like Canada has one, but each province has to approve it. BC hasn't even approved it yet because they feel like it's too vague, that it's not enough detailed information about when the exposure happened and all the little details of like other people that would have been exposed that would be mentioned, so you could at least go, oh yeah, I work with so and so, I may have been exposed at work, so then you could kind of go from there. But it just says, oh yeah, within 2 weeks there was a COVID exposure here. Like, you're like, well, was I there in the 2 weeks, or is it like where it was too vague? So a lot of people, like BC hasn't approved it yet.
Yesterday, I don't know where I was 2 weeks ago. Like,
Yeah, like, I don't know. Was I there? Did I even go? Like, I don't even know what I did yesterday, other than I went to work, because I know I didn't get called from my boss saying, where are you? So, I obviously showed up. So,
the more information is shoved into my brain and the less I retain. I'm like, I don't know.
Oh, I know. I'm at
Yep.
that point too. I'm like, I don't know. Something goes in, like 10 things come
Laughing
out.
at Ryan half the time, and I'm like, I can tell you when I was born. Does that count? Like,
Yeah. I can also tell you my name. Does that mean anything?
I can tell my name. Yay!
Yeah, like, I remembered my first name.
Wait till you're my age. Oh, God.
And it's like your little square in the corner says Mark ? Yeah.
Yep, pretty much.
Is it Mark? I don't know. I don't even know where I am. Yeah.
Yeah, once we're back to shooting shows, I'll look at my camera bag like, what is that? Am I supposed to take that with me?
I know, like, just, is that supposed to come to the show? I don't really remember the protocol.
Yeah, what does this do?
What is this thing? Well, it's funny because, like, on my Facebook memory, my new camera that I bought just after my camera broke at King Diamond, it showed up as a memory going, new camera. And I'm like, I didn't even shoot like 10 shows. And then the COVID hit. This camera is like new. It doesn't even have any like concert exposure. Never got spilt on. It never got the experience of getting hit by a crowd surfer. It's like a virgin to concerts at this point. It's still like, oh, I can't wait to go. And my other one's dead in the corner going, trust me, you don't want this. No, don't. It's too late for you. But I still wouldn't trade it, but I wouldn't trade anything for it. But my poor camera's taking a beating.
A Nikon person or a Canon person?
I'm a Canon person, 100%. I grew up with it. My family did, and so did I. So that's what I learned on. So I don't like. Of course, there's always the Canon Rebel or Canon. Sorry, not Canon Rebel. Canon Nikon like feud that goes on between us. But we all love each other because we all do the same thing at the end of the day. But because I know Mike Savoya shoots Nikon too, and he gets amazing shots. And like myself, I shoot Canon, and I like what shows up at the end of the day. So it's really just it's the photographer, not the camera. But it's always fun to have a feud anyway. We have fun.
Yeah, because I've got Nikon gear.
I was trying to remember, Mark. I was like, are you Nikon or Canon? I can't remember. Yeah, bring it on. Bring it.
I'll leave. Bye. Have fun.
Rowan's like, look at the time. I gotta go.
And that's me.
Like, it was nice to meet you. Take off.
I actually have a gingerbread house next to me. Can you see it? I've been like,
A little gingerbread house that you can evacuate into when the fight starts. Yeah.
I've never made a gingerbread house ever in my life, to my knowledge. Ever.
I did in school, but it was horrible. It broke like 2 seconds after I made it.
This is my gingerbread bracer.
That's adorable. I don't have any kind of talent like that. I can barely just make like regular cookies. So I don't know.
I keep picking off the little candies that are on the thing, though. I'm like, I need to eat a real meal and stop eating gumdrops. Hey, gumdrops, but they're there.
Right? I was gonna say that's what I did with my house in elementary school. I remember that they had us all do it, and then I was just like eating the candies. And the teacher was like, "Stop eating the candies!" And I'm like, just kept eating them. I'm like, forget it. I'm in grade 2. You can't tell me not to eat candy.
What did you expect?
I know, like really.
I
Like,
barely learned how to go to the bathroom on my own. I don't know self-control around sugar.
I know, right? Like, excuse me, I eat sugar as soon as I see it on the table. It's mine.
Well,
Very
yeah,
good.
yeah, and Tony, you're right. I mean, that's like what Char was saying. It comes out. Any photographer worth their salt knows it's the photographer first and the gear second. We
Yeah.
all know. We all know that because you
It's
can
true.
you can give $10,000 gear to somebody who can't do shit with it, and then give something like a $200 system to somebody, and they can do amazing things with it because they're
Oh,
a good
yeah.
photographer. So
Mhm.
yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, me too. Like I say, it's always kind of a joke or like a fun little camaraderie between all of us, but we all respect one another. We all know everyone has the same passion, same devotion to the art itself. So we all are good at what we do because we've learned that same philosophy, so to speak, that it's the person, not the camera. Although the cameras can help sometimes, because I know when people are like, well, I have like an S8 phone, and I'm like, don't you dare compare your phone to it. I spent thousands of dollars. Don't you dare compare my phone to you. No.
I just remember this memory, and I don't know, it's really distinct to me in my 50-year-old brain. But Char, I don't know if you remember this.
Question mark? No, I'm kidding.
When you and your mom were at Numos, which I think was the first time I think you shot there for Cannibal Corpse a couple years ago.
It's the first and only time I've been there.
Yeah, so I remember talking to you, and then I don't know if it was after their set or one of the opening band set, but I was just like trying to bum rush myself out of there, and you and your mom were like already out of the pit. Well, your mom obviously was out of the pit, but you were out of the pit too. I think I stepped on you guys or something trying to get past you because I was like,
oh my god!
Do you remember that? Did I step on your foot?
I don't, but
okay,
I don't remember, but maybe you did, and I'm just like, I'm used to it at metal. I'm just used to it.
I'm pretty sure I did. I was like, "What?" I'm just saying to myself, "Like, what the fuck are you doing? You go back and say something to them." But the band was playing; it's all loud and all that kind of shit. Like,
it was so loud in there.
I'll say whatever to them the next time I see them.
And then nothing was ever said. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
I honestly don't remember, to be actually perfectly honest. Yeah, I was gonna say, you know what? I've had so many weird concert experiences that simply having my foot stepped on, I'm just like, oh, okay. Just let it go. And it was very loud in there. I remember that's my mom and I stood in the hall that you could still see the show, but it was in that little hall that I was like, oh, I can kind of hear myself think at the same time. Like you're not just being deafened by death metal in all ways possible. It's like, oh god, I can't hear a thing. So it was nice to be in the hall. You could still hear, but have somewhat of a conversation with someone else and still talk to them.
I remember, I guess somebody got me really good in the back of the neck coming over the barrier, because normally there's not a barrier at those shows at Numos ever.
No, that's what's funny is that's what Neil said too when I talked to him that day. He's like, "There's a barrier," and I'm like, "Well, thank God, I just drove 3 hours." So
that's interesting that you mentioned Neil, because that was actually the first show too that he shook my hand as I came into the pit. So we'd always see each other, but never really had a conversation. But he's kind of like, "Hey," put out his hand, and then somebody got me right in the back of the neck. A crowd surfer coming over the barrier. And yeah, they got me good. That's what
was it right at that moment? Because I feel like we can say Neil sabotaged you. That you weren't aware of your surroundings because you're like, oh, hey, and then he threw you off. It's like, oh, he tried to attack me.
I would love to blame him, but I was actually later in the set, so
okay.
I can't blame him. But
next time, Neil, if you're watching this next time.
So somebody got me in the neck, and then I'm pretty sure I either stepped on you or your mom's foot when I was trying to get out of the pit. That's all I remember.
Oh, was it trying to get out of the pit? Yeah, then especially I definitely would have noticed. I've had so much worse things trying to get out of a photo pit or in the photo pit. It's just stupid. One of the bands I've actually pretty much sworn not to ever photograph again is Municipal Waste, because the 2 times I've shot them has been such a horrible photo experience. I'm just like, no, I'm done. I'm never doing it again.
You know what's funny that you mentioned that band? I believe they actually played Numos. Not
I was
too
gonna
long
say, I
ago.
think they did. I think they did recently. They went on tour. I had Peter photograph them, and he's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yes, they're all yours for the rest of time. They are yours to shoot. I don't care." One time, the first time was another photographer and I. The crowd got so rowdy that they came into the photo pit with us, and they lifted. Like, I was so like claustrophobic. Like, I'm not usually, but they were just so close, and they all had their beers, and they're all like throwing stuff and doing whatever. And the band's like, "Yeah, come on up," and I'm like, "Stop saying that." There are already like 30 of us in a pit made for 10. Like, please stop. So the photographer and I both climbed on the amps, and we're like, okay, we have a little bit of space. Then the crowd thought, hey, let's carry the amps with them on it. So the photographer and I both like jumped off the amps before it got really bad, but we definitely were hoisted off the ground for about a good 2 or 3 minutes before we're like, okay, set us down. It was just like,
Wow.
oh my God, please
What
stop.
a story, though.
Then the second time was we were in the photo pit, and I stood this way to take a picture. A crowd surfer used my face as a step stool to push himself up and onto the stage, and it was the weirdest thing. I'm like, I've never been physically stepped on the side of my head to be boosted up and over to get on stage. And I was just like, after that moment, I was like, I'm so done shooting this band. Like, it was within like 2 years that both scenarios happened. I was just
Wow.
like, the last one was so fresh, and I was like, maybe this time it won't be so bad. Oh wait, I'm a stool, so apparently it is just as bad. So they're off my list, unfortunately. But for any fans who love them and would love for me to take pictures of them, it's not going to happen again. Sorry, everybody.
Either of you know the band Demon Seed? Demoncy.
Oh no, that doesn't ring a bell.
It's like dark metal. I have a childhood friend who is a bass player for them currently, and so I was just curious if either of you had shot or interviewed or anything.
Oh no, I'll have to write that down and check them out though, because I like the name. It's not something that you hear all that often. Like, at first I thought you said Demon Seed, and I was like, oh, there is a band called God Seed that I know is out of Norway, but they're not really that active anymore. But no,
Yeah.
Demons, I'll have to look that up.
Tour, I think they're more popular in like Europe and Latin America than they are in the States. And so I was just,
Oh, okay. That's cool.
he's from Washington, the bass player.
Oh, cool. Yeah. South America is a good scene for music too. Any music really. They probably don't get very much down there for live performances. So I hear from a lot of the bands I know that they're like, we love touring there because the response is absolutely insane, because of course any music that live performs and travels there, it's like, oh, let's all go.
Yeah.
So,
I kind of hear the same thing between South America and Japan. It's kind of the same. As soon as they go, it's like they're just rabid fans. They can't wait to see the band. They're so into it, and so the bands can't wait to come back.
right.
I think with like Latin America, especially though, like music is so ingrained in their culture. Like they grow up dancing and they grow up learning songs and all this. Whereas like that's something that we've strayed away from a lot, at least in the States.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that music would be something that people are more open to and quicker to take to than they are here.
Yeah.
Like
Canada's in the same boat. We've strayed away from it too. Yeah.
Rowan, have you ever been in a mosh pit?
I have seen them, but I have avoided them. I've hurt myself enough dancing. Like I'm a pretty small person. I'm 5'6.5", and
I'm 5'7", but I definitely don't go in them either. But
I weigh like 130 pounds, but that's like muscle. Like I am not super large, and I've broken my nose dancing. I've broken ribs dancing.
wow.
Broken toes. I like tore all the connective tissue in my hip. I've dislocated my knee really badly.
Oh wow.
I've done a whole bunch of other stuff. I fractured my arm, but that's from dancing. Like from my head to my toes, I don't know that there's a healthy part of my body, and so I'm like, I probably shouldn't put myself in a mosh pit. Like it seems like fun, and I'm not inherently avoiding them because of the fact that I will get hurt. But at the same time, I think it's smarter that I avoid them.
It's for the best. Yeah.
Like,
You're really not missing much. I know I got stuck in one once, so.
Like, eh.
Yeah, no, it's for the best.
I was just thinking back to, I know you like rockabilly and psychobilly, and so does Carlos, and he was talking about Tiger Army the last time he did a fun table session, and that's a band that I covered, and I was actually surprised to see how violent that pit got at that show at the Showbox when I saw them 2 or 3 years ago. So that's what the question.
But yeah, who did we see? Necromantics, I think, was the one where I was like, "Ooh, this is people are serious." And I'm gonna stay over here with my beer. I would like to drink all of it and not have it knocked out of my hands. With $12 for the water beer, I would like to drink it.
Yeah,
good beer.
Well, I never understood that at shows when people would like pay like $7 or $8 for a beer and then they'd throw it, and you're like, that was just like $8. Like you just talked $8. Like, it tastes better in your stomach than on the floor. Like I'm just saying. I've gotten doused in beers myself, and I always kind of say that to myself, and I go, well, first off, I get really PO'd that a drop touched my camera at any point. Then the second thought is, why'd you spend the money just to throw it?
I've bartended for like 2 or 3 years, and so I'm like really used to smelling like alcohol, so that bit doesn't bug me. I'm used to like being sticky and grimy and smelling like alcohol. But yeah, it's just like generally if I'm going to a concert, like it's like a thing for me. Like I'm excited to go out. Like maybe I up a little bit. Like I'm excited for the experience. I feel like everyone is also similarly excited to be there. And I understand people express themselves differently, but it's just like, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're on other people, like, really? That's what gets you going? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess.
Just having that full beer at someone, that really gets you going.
I'm here for the movement, but okay.
You're like, okay, I guess. And you know what? It's true. I don't care that I smell like it. I just care when my camera gets it. That's where I'm like, whoa, these are my children. Just don't hurt the kids. Jeez.
They're expensive.
They're very expensive. To have 2 kids is very expensive. They're my mechanical children. I guess I'm already kind of living that Terminator thing that I said earlier, where you have mechanical children. I already have 2 that I treat like very, very spoiled children. They live very sheltered lives.
I just like eventually need to get my nose fixed, and I like don't want to get it to the point where I have to get it fixed.
Yeah, no. It's like, it's probably very expensive to do something like that, right? If you've broken it or whatnot, I'm sure it's not an easy procedure either. So
right now I have like double coverage under both my parents. I'm lucky to be on my parents' insurance right now, but it ends in 6 months. So I'm like trying to get everything done. Like I got glasses, I went to the dentist,
nice.
went to the PT, I got my ankle x-rayed. I'm like, tell me everything I need to know.
Yeah, like please, I need everything.
That's smart.
Yeah. See, my work, it's all like they cover 80% of benefits, so I really don't pay for much when it comes to that kind of stuff. But yeah, like for a dentist cleaning appointment normally would be like astronomical, but with 80% of it gone, it ends up being like $60. So it's like, woohoo, clean teeth.
And I even had them seal my molars so I like wouldn't be as prone to cavities. I was like, please, I need this to last a couple of years. I'm not gonna be able to afford the insurance until I'm like 30.
Yeah, I guess right. Yeah. See, in Canada is so different. Like the cost of things is so different, like health plans wise. So it's always like, yeah, I definitely most likely take it for granted, because if something happened to me and I went south of the border, I'd be like, just leave me to die. It's fine. Mechanical accident. Just leave me to die. My dad did that once, actually.
Like, health insurance is generally, at least when you are on the lower scale of income, as I am myself, based off of how much you're making. But then, like, it's still insane. Like, I don't have $400 to pay for both medical and dental when I'm paying like $1,200 in rent. Like,
yeah. See, and that's just it. Like it's for us and at my job, it comes out of my paycheck, but it's like minuscule amounts. It's nowhere near like $400 a month to do something like that. It may be that a year, but it would take a really long time to get to that point.
It's so much money. I'm like, I'm just gonna be uninsured. It's fine.
I'll be fine. I know it's funny that
I dare you, I'll sue you, and I'll make more money than I will with
yeah,
insurance.
exactly. You're like, I'll sue. I just have to survive. If I survive, I will sue you.
Which
it's
is
funny,
awesome, but, you know.
right? My dad went
It's
skiing
socialized.
once. My dad, when he was young, he went skiing in the States and he broke his leg, and he had his mom drive him back home because he's like, I can't afford to. He had his mom come back and get him and then drive back home again. So like at the time they were in Vancouver, so, and my dad was skiing somewhere like, I can't remember the name of it, but it was just south of Seattle somewhere. Like it may have been like Mount Rainier or something, that kind of area. But either way, so he broke it, and then they just like the doctors were trying to do something, and my dad's like, "Don't! I can't afford it. I can't afford it. Leave me here. My parents are coming to get me."
I need prescription strength ibuprofen. I can do this.
And he did. I think he took like I don't know how many extra strength aspirin and like numbing gel stuff. Like he made it.
I feel like every dad has that kind of story, you know. My dad's always like, "Oh yeah, like me and my two brothers, we were giving each other stitches and like." What were you doing? Like you grew up in like the 70s and 80s. Like how were you just giving each other stitches? Like,
and why? Like, don't you have like medical back then? Like there would have been like.
I know they were doctors.
This isn't like back in caveman days where it was like, oh, you know,
like, you weren't living in like the back country of some state, like.
Yeah, no kidding. You're like,
oh, it was 2 hours to a doctor one way. Like, no.
Yeah, no, it wasn't
3
quite.
minutes.
Yeah, no kidding. When it's 3 minutes, you're like, you could have just walked. Unless you broke your leg like my dad. He couldn't have walked. You know?
My brothers carried me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. My dad has 3 other siblings. I'm sure they all could have teamed together and walked over. Right? I'm like, I'm sure they're
walked back to Canada.
It's just like a 10-hour walk. I don't know. I would collapse if I tried to walk home. So I don't know about them back then, but I definitely would pass out and probably not survive. I'm not physically fit to do that kind of exercise. Let's walk from Mount Rainier to Canada. Okay. But yeah.
Well, and it's so bad, like what Rowan was saying, that when you have to make choices between, well, do I do this, do I do that? It's like, well, you need both.
Technically, we need both. It shouldn't be to the fact that, like, my dad just drove back to Canada for it. Or in, like, a lot of people's case, they can't afford to pay for an ambulance or whatever, so they don't go. Like, that's just scary, right?
Yep,
it's been annoying, too, because, like, I've had to turn down work offers because I can't afford to have a car. But, like, being able to drive somewhere, I'd get there in half an hour, but having a bus there, it's like an hour and a half. But, like, I'm still paying for a bus, but it's slightly cheaper for me to pay for a bus than to, like, have a car and pay for insurance. But then it's like, if I bought a car, I'd be able to be working right now. But without a car, I would be able to afford to live.
Yeah, it's a vicious little circle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really weird.
It's just a weird circle of like so many if this, and yeah, it's insane. Like for me,
for a car for a while, and I could afford one, but with like the state of things, I'm like, like the money I have saved is the money I need.
Yeah, because you never know, right? Like with the pandemic getting kind of worse in this season, you don't want to risk that all of a sudden you get laid off or anything like that. Like every day is a new day. You kind of have to treat it like that. So to buy a car right now may be impractical, and financially especially. So got to be careful, right? And same with me. I don't think about that, right? Like I could be working about a car. No. But yeah, no, it's the same with me too. It's like our hours cut back because we're not busy, so we kind of have to financially plan accordingly. So I'm lucky that at Christmas I did all my Christmas shopping like months ago, so that side of it was all done financially. It's just now doing the normal stuff. But yeah, so it's.
Sure, I've got I was getting kind of late, but kind of a quick question for you. Is your dad a metalhead too?
No, it's funny. So with my dad, he's very much he likes Led Zeppelin, he likes Queen, he likes Rush, he likes more of the classic rock like music itself. He likes the Beatles, which him and I joke about because I don't like the Beatles. So
I respect your opinion, but you're wrong.
And it's funny because like I'm not a Beatles fan, and I used to be really anti-Beatles when I first liked metal because I was just like, the Beatles suck, this is stupid, and your music sucks. And he'd be like, I can't understand yours, it's just people screaming, yours sucks. And my taste has changed over the years, and so has his. So now it's funny that there's a couple bands that my dad's actually converted into his like listening palette, so to speak. And I listen to a few Beatles songs from time to time. So really we've learned to grow together. But it's
to be like eclectic in your taste.
Yeah. And he's definitely exposed me to more bands that I listen to now versus my bands jumping into his music categories. But there's a few that I'm actually surprised that I was like, he had it on his like in his car, and I was kind of like, is that one of my bands? And he's like, no. And I'm like, yes, it is. I can see it in the car thing. It says exactly the band. It says Powerwolf. I can see it. And he's like, I don't know how that got there. I'm like, you obviously put it there. So it's just funny. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
He knows you.
And it's funny too, because he catches me too. Like I can't remember who I had on. It was a George Harrison song, and I liked it. It was from one of the songs in Guardians of the Galaxy, and I liked the song, and I was just like kind of sitting along, just bopping to it. My dad's like, is that George Harrison? You know he's from the Beatles, right? And I'm like, no, he's not from the Beatles. He's
whatever.
George Harrison. And my dad's just like, don't. And I'm like, yeah, it works both ways. I know. So
that's cool that you kind of crossed over.
Yeah. We've crossed over, a little bit over the years. It's a very small percentage for my dad, but he's definitely more classic rock. Whereas my brother, my mom, and I, we all are heavy metal right through and through. Yeah, we listen to both. My brother's a little more just heavy metal. He won't jump into like Rush and all that stuff. Whereas my mom and I jump into it a little more over the years, and my dad's the true classics. For sure. We have a mix of all of it somehow. But it's either way, it's either rock or metal. It doesn't really jump into country or anything.
But it's classical Christmas.
But then there's classical Christmas.
Just bring it full circle.
I'm like, plus the Grinch, because you know what? The Grinch songs are kind of catchy for Christmas.
Like the old ones? Yeah. So
yeah. I was watching it the other day on TV. So it was there, and I was like, oh, I love the songs of the Grinch.
His voice is just like,
right? It's so classic, right? Very good. Yeah. Those two make me flash back to Christmas memories. So it's like I like listening to them for that purpose.
Sometimes people just have like voices, and you're like, could you talk for 5 hours? Like, that's all I want. Just keep talking to me.
Just keep talking.
I like the way you talk, and or your voice is beautiful. Like something, just keep going. It's good. I mean, a life story.
Just sitting here peacefully.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. Like sometimes I'll just encounter someone, and I'm like, please keep talking. Like,
I like the tone of your voice.
Yeah.
You're just sitting there with a record button, like for later at night when I miss the tone of voice.
October the 3rd, 2004. I met this woman, and this is what she sounds like.
Exactly.
True slumber.
Have like a giant, like in is it Indiana Jones? I think it's Indiana Jones, where it's all the files at the end of the movie, and they're pushing the cart. Yeah, it's like have like a whole file of all these different recorded voices that you're like, I've liked the tone of voice over the years. Yeah. Today it will be so and so from 2002. Yeah. Be almost creepy, but kind of funny at the same time. I'm willing to accept it.
These are my deepest, darkest secrets.
Yeah, right. Like nothing.
Well, everybody, I think it's been a great session. A good time to probably call it good night. And some of the people like Tony who just put a thing in the chat. I mean, he's on the East Coast, so it's 3:00 over there, 3:30 over there in the morning.
Damn, Tony. That's a trooper right there.
Yeah, respect for hanging in there. So
like, damn.
Because that's
Gotta
why
get
normally,
Tony in here next time.
yeah, that's why normally I start at 7, but for my own schedule, it works out better when I do it at 9. So I kind of stay with it. But Rowan and Char, and then Darren over in Hawaii. Thanks so much for joining me tonight, and everybody in the chat. It's been awesome having you here, and I'm glad to be back doing live streams again. And hopefully, this iOS issue for me on the audio side will get cleared up this coming week, so that I can feel confident about bringing guests in, talking to them, taking them off screen, having them come back on screen, and not having this blah, 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 blah stuff sound. It actually happened.
No more robots. Yeah,
it actually happened about 20 minutes ago. My screen went black for like a second, and then both of your voices went blah, blah. I was like, okay, as long as they keep talking, I'm fine. But if they stop and ask me something, I won't know what they ask.
It's like when you put the LP on backwards, that's our demon voices. Like when people are convinced if you play Led Zeppelin backwards, like that's
right.
That's what it was.
There we go.
Yep. Yep, that's our demon message to the world: is that wear a mask.
But over your nose.
Yeah, over your nose and under your chin.
Yeah,
full space, not just like right here
or
like under,
and not a bandana.
Right, or they're just like wearing it as like a chin cozy or something.
Weird.
I'm not really sure what that is.
I saw someone wearing like a sheer one, and I was like,
that's creepy.
It's the thought that counts, but also like
it's sheer.
And then there was another person who was wearing like a mesh one, like a woven. I was like, no.
It's like you want to say to them and be like, "You're just don't even bother.
Take it off." I don't.
Yeah, just take it off.
No. No. But anyway.
Oh yeah. So happy
Lovely
holidays
talking
to
to
you,
you,
Tony, everybody else, obviously Char and Rowan. If I don't,
Your mom's still here.
and my mom's still here. She just she's tuning out. Gosh, so she's still
So, woo.
Shout
Go.
out.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Party mom.
Yeah, right. Like
And, yeah, again, if anyone's tuning in, the plan is that I will be able to do one next Saturday. I don't know what time yet, but I do have 2 guests for sure, and then potentially one other guest, depending on how the schedule works out. So,
Cool.
Yeah, stay safe for everybody. Take
Yeah,
care.
stay safe.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you.
It's always a good time, and we'll see everybody whenever I do another stream.
To the next one.
Yeah, which will be at the latest next Saturday. So,
Right.
good night.
It was nice to meet you, Rowan.
Likewise.
Good night and happy holidays.
Thank you as well.
Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good night.